has a touchdown over the right guard. The Niners have scored again here in the NFC Championship game. Mahomes in the pocket, throws a deep one behind the defense. It is caught. Valdez-Scantling with the grab. He got behind Millette for 33 yards. Downfield delivery to Valdez-Scantling.
This is a Super Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com. Injured? Don't trust just anyone to something so personal. Call George McCoy at Warren Allen. Online at WarrenAllen.com.
Super Week with Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
That was looking past us.
The Fan.
All right, 6:02 in the Rose City. Time for Dirt and Sprague on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan. I'm going to have to find where that button is because my hype horn is broken. That was a drop.
Slacking on a Friday.
Yeah, I am. Good morning, Patrick Harris. Good morning, Jason Swigart. Nice to have you back,
Hey,
Swag.
look who's up bright and early.
Hey, I'm feeling great. I was up like an hour ago.
We need more super hype.
ready to rumble.
This isn't the easiest shift for everybody.
No.
Oh no. I've done the summer of swag on the other side.
Yeah.
On the ones and twos.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
No, it yesterday
I know why Crawford moved to California. Let's put it that way.
It certainly wasn't the weather. Yesterday, Schultze filled in for a couple days, so thank you to Jordan Schultz.
Yes, another lost trip to Spokane.
Yeah, absolutely. 30-point drubbing. He showed up, so I got here yesterday. I had prepared everything I wanted to do on the show, and I didn't even get to most of it. But I got here around 5:40, which is a little later than I've been getting in since Dirt left. And I got here before Schultze.
Uh-oh.
I got in.
Was there a giant line at the Dutch Brothers?
There had to have been, or he was chatting up the super perky hello lady. He got in here at 5:45, and I just looked at it and I went, "Oh my God, he just got here." And then I forgot the opens were already made because it's Super Week on the Fan, and I was like, "Okay, this week you could get by doing that." But I was nervous for a quick minute of like, "Oh my God, he got here 15 minutes for the show."
I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I knew the opens were already made, I got here at 5:45.
Yeah, that's fair.
Full disclosure. So if you want to fire me from ever being a producer again, go for it.
No, I think it's okay. The scripts, you guys can write your scripts for the updates pretty quickly if you lock in.
And you get a half hour because you don't do one at 6.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I had a very moment, like a brief moment of panic yesterday where I'm like, oh my God, he just got here. It ended up being okay.
No, I'm here at 5 no matter what.
I know.
Also because of fear of something not working properly.
Well, hey, that still happens when you get here at 5.
What do you mean? This place is run like a charm.
I had a listener DM us and say, hey, how come it just never works right? And I just, like, I don't know. Between 5 and 6:30, just something about the system.
Well, I don't know. Maybe there's something, fingers crossed, because I haven't had an issue as we do our last show before Super Bowl 58. So
I can't believe it's here. It's the end of football season's officially done on Sunday.
Well, thanks to the rest of the sports world for giving us stuff all week so we don't have to drone on and on and on about the same matchups over and over. So
I thought we were here to do Mahomes versus Brady for 3 hours. Are we not?
No.
That's all I prepped for.
So fortunately, there's been a little something from a lot of different places in sports this week.
Well, the NBA trade deadline happening.
That helped.
That helps tremendously.
Well, it dressed. I don't know if it happened.
Yeah,
it suited up.
It actually did happen, but like nothing really happened, you know? Buddy Hield was the biggest player that got moved.
Like the Ravens played
Bogdanovich to the Knicks.
Sneaky good move.
Sneaky good move, yeah.
So Sunday we do I do a gambling show on the BetQL network from 6 to 7 p.m. locally.
To bet the book.
And
now, is that getting bumped for this Sunday, hopefully?
So you would think like last week or 2 weeks
or pushed
ago.
back or start. I don't know what you do, if you go before or you go after.
No, nothing. The schedule keeps the same on the BetQL network. They don't change anything according to anything.
That's absolutely brutal.
However, they allow us to record our Super Bowl show because
yes, 0
people are listening to our show on the Super Bowl. I would argue that's happening in other moments as well.
Dude,
but
are you talking about my show on Wednesdays?
No, but we taped it yesterday. Or no, 2 days ago. So we taped it. Okay, you can tape your show, and we'll just play it live Sunday because I'm not doing the show.
Nobody's
I'm a fan
doing
of
the show during the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl.
Right. So we taped the show. They're like, let's just not do football so they don't know it's taped. Let's just do hoops. And I'm like, okay.
Good idea.
We did a segment on, buying teams. What's the...
But you did it before the trade deadline.
Yeah. I had about a 4-minute rant with my co-host about how I'm not buying the Knicks. And then they got Bogdanovich, and they may not win the East, and that's not a hot take to say they won't, but it was to the point where I text our group and I said, I already think that opinion's bad because I loved the Bogdanovich pickup for the Knicks. I thought that was a big pickup. He's a good scorer that can come off the bench.
Well, he spaces the floor. He creates more driving lanes for Brunson. It's if and when they get Randall back, he's got more room to operate.
Yep. OG's going to be back in 3 weeks. He was awesome before he got hurt. Patrick Harris is sitting here listening going, oh, my God, New York Knicks talk on the Super Bowl Friday. I did not know we were going to get into this today.
Dirt's gone, so hoops reign supreme.
It's actually my far right bottom corner
Is
of the
it?
bingo card.
Is
Well, I
it?
just threw it in there for who
Okay.
knows.
All right.
Well, I mean, but that's how stuff happens, though, like to us in our business. Like, we are naturally have the worst luck possible, okay? I do a baseball show on Wednesday from 7 to 9 p.m.
Yes, you do.
And Thursday morning, Ohtani signs with the Dodgers. And you're like, of course he does. I'll see you in 6 days. And the day before, I'm like, I really like the Giants' chances on this.
Oh, is that what you said?
And by 6 days, I mean, I thought it was going to be the Dodgers, but I like the Giants' chances. And sure enough, 6 days later, it's like the Giants had no shot. And it's like, not only were you wrong, but you sound super dumb right now.
And then you'll be 6 days late to the take that everybody's already
Yeah, and I'm like, Shohei for 800? This is outrageous. People are like, boring. Yeah, dude, that's what happens. We always expect. I hear you guys talk about this.
Yeah,
we're waiting for news on this. Waiting for news on this. It'll break at 9:02.
9:05.
Yeah.
I think the Bogdanovich trade happened at 9:30 yesterday. Shout out us.
See, that's what it is.
It's fantastic.
But don't worry, it's good content for Colin.
Colin gets to it. He'll get to
After he gets past Rodgers and stuff. He'll get there.
Westbrook, LeBron, Rodgers, Brady,
USC football somehow for some reason right now.
Harbaugh. Oh God, the Harbaugh Charger stuff's gonna get amped up 1,000 now that he's down the road from it.
Yeah, when do the Chargers become LA's team according to him?
Yeah. Well, I still think the Rams are better.
Well, of course, but like in his mind,
I know. I'm excited, guys. We have a lot to get into today. Andrew Nimick's going to join us at 8:15, and some may hear that and go, "Oh, a little Oregon Duck recruiting recap." No, 0% of recruiting will be in that conversation. This is a straight therapy session. Me and Nimick have been texting all season. We're both products of the 90s. We both grew up in a city with no football team. So what did we do? We jumped onto the flashy fun thing, Jerry Rice.
Ooh, I have a little childhood Jerry Rice love. I'll join the party.
It's going to be a therapy session because we
because you've lost already.
No,
what is the therapy about?
Well, dude. Have you had a team in the Super Bowl?
No, longtime Charger fan.
Okay. When you get a team in the Super Bowl, that's hard enough. Now get a team in the Super Bowl, and you know what's standing in their way? Probably the greatest quarterback of all time.
I wasn't a Charger fan in '94, but you had Steve Young, Jerry Rice standing in that way, and I believe they're still scoring touchdowns on that Charger team.
Stan Humphries was not concerning any 49er fan.
Natron Means was not busting through that D-line.
No, he wasn't.
Did not mean business.
Not that day. 6 tuds, no picks. Steve Young, what a moment. But yeah, it's going to be basically where we're at today because we got some Chief listeners out there. They've been chiming in all week. And
a large growing fan base.
Hey, it's not even about going hard at the Chiefs today. It's just straight up like, I think this Niner team is truly special.
Sure.
But we have Brock Purdy and they have Patrick Mahomes. They have an elite defense. We have kind of a mid defense.
With superstars everywhere, though.
Yeah, that's a weird thing, too. It's like your defensive line loaded. Your linebackers really good. Your secondary, you have Charvarius Ward. And somehow it's kind of a mid-defense.
Remember when you traded for Chase Young? It was like, oh, God, this is getting ugly.
I knew he wasn't going to be good in rush defense. I didn't know how bad he was going to be in rush defense. And that has surely showed itself in the last, 4 weeks.
I can understand needing therapy, man. This is why it is so great. Swag, I know you were going through ditching the star and figuring out your next move.
Yeah.
I ditched the Bolt, And it's funny that you grabbed the Bolt.
He grabbed the Bolt.
I ditched the Bolt. Great choice, though. I mean, other than Spanos, the Bolts. I mean, if you want up and down fandom and like your heartstrings pulled every day,
I gotta go buy my Lululemon khakis. Let's go.
When I let go of the Bolt,
drinking milk.
When I let go of the Bolt, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let go of it all.
Really?
And I'm just gonna sit back and watch. I don't have a team. Which is great because then I get to just root for good players. Yeah. Like I love McCaffrey. You know, Mahomes is obviously Mahomes.
You can jump on the Detroit Lions bandwagon.
Yeah, I can root for the Lions in a game if I want to. I can root for Jordan Love.
Flacco coming off the couch.
I can do whatever I want. But I also don't have that emotion of like, oh my gosh, we're on the precipice. But I also sleep well at night.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the Super Bowl, I'm just praying for a good game. And at the end of the Super Bowl, whoever wins, it's like, oh, this is cool. I'm down.
It's a weird thing to say, and listeners don't always like when I say it, but my fandom on it has changed. I'm still a fan. I'm nervous as all hell right now, but kind of like nervously confident, which is probably the worst place to be. If they are to lose to Patrick Mahomes, I will be devastated for about an hour.
Yeah.
And then I'll take the jersey off and I'll show prep and I'll go to bed and I'll mentally like be at that place and I'll do the show Monday and I'll have some flashbacks of emotion, but I'll largely
you can use it as a little, not shticky, but you can use it as part of the theme of like a little woe is me.
If I was 13,
a little behind the curtain a little bit.
If this same thing was happening when I'm 13, I'm crying.
Oh yeah, you're not going to school the next day.
I'm devastated. Yeah, I'm pretty dejected about it. I like having a team.
Or is Kyle Shanahan the next Marv Levy? That sort of thing.
I'd like to think he's the Philadelphia Andy Reid and just give him time. He'll figure it out. But God, if he loses.
But he needs a new team
and a better quarterback. In San Francisco.
He needs a new team and a new quarterback is what you're saying. Hey, Donovan McNabb was great.
McNabb was good.
McNabb is in the hall of very, very good. Maybe slightly great.
Bowl of Campbell's soup.
Yes.
I mean, 4 NFC title games in a row is.
I think it was 5. Wasn't
5
it?
in a row.
5. I think it was 5.
5 in a row in a Super Bowl appearance and
5 straight and only 1 Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah.
Oh, that's.
And then he got there and was scared and was throwing up.
He was throwing up on the field. T.O. had a broken leg. Was like, "Throw me the ball, bitch!" And McNabb's like, "Ugh."
If you remember, T.O. had like 10 catches and over 100 yards in that game, but no tutties.
Well, T.O. was awesome in that game.
Yeah, I love T.O. Shout out T.O.
Well, Nimick will join us at 8:15 for therapy. We will Sprague the line super hard. I have a funny Sprague the line story to share with you at 8:30.
Ooh.
I want to get your take on it, Swigard.
Okay.
Pierre is going to give his take as well, but Swag, it's kind of right up your alley.
Have you guys done prop bets yet?
No.
Okay, cool. I got a take on prop bets.
There you go.
Really?
Yeah.
We'll dive into some prop bets today. I want to look at the board. Are we betting the over of Reba?
Who?
Reba McEntire.
On the national anthem.
I had this conversation at work the other day. Got a take on it.
Okay. We'll get to the prop bets today. And then our good friend, former intern of the radio program, Marcus Greaves, he left the Fan for Coin, and then he left Coin
to go to San Diego.
To go to San Diego. Who can fault the kid? He got to go to Vegas for the CBS coverage of the affiliate in San Diego.
I love him so much.
And he's going to join us live from Las Vegas.
Just one of the nicest dudes ever.
A good kid.
I got to see him next week. We're going to San Diego, or it's the San Diego Pepperdine trip next week.
You should actually, if you have his phone number, you should reach out and say, hey, dude, if you get a moment, you go to the San Diego game and say hi to him. So he'll join us at 7:30 live.
Plenty of good seats available.
Live from Las Vegas at 7:30. We'll have some Blazer trade deadline reaction. We got Joe Cronin audio. We got the NFL awards to get to. It's a loaded show. Dirt and Sprague, good to be with you. Let's get it going on this Super Bowl Friday on The Fan.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
On 1080 The Fan.
Well, we got some audio to get to coming up at 6:30. But Super Bowl's here.
Huzzah!
It is here. I asked Schultze yesterday. He's throwing a party. He's throwing a party, and he makes it sound like it's so depressing to throw a party. He's like, I invited 15, but I might have 5. And I'm like, so?
Oh, well, yeah, I talked to him because he hosts the Hot Corner on Wednesday, or he produces the Hot Corner on Wednesday. And I was like, sorry, Schultze, I'm not going to make it. I've got some interesting plans that I think I'm doing this year. And he was like, that's okay. It'll just be me and my wife drinking by ourselves. I was like, oh, man, dude. Dude.
I mean, you throw a party and you throw invites
together,
out.
Man.
There's a chance you're not going to get everybody that says yes to it. But
I'll tell you what, we threw a New Year's party and I invited like 20 couples.
Damn, that's a lot of people.
And my wife was like, oh, God, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Paper plates.
12 couples showed up.
That's still a lot.
Like, ding.
Yeah.
But that was great.
That's a sweet spot.
Yeah, that was great. It was like shoot the over and hope for the under.
Well, Swag, I like your thoughts on this. Are you doing a Super Bowl party?
No.
Because my stance on this game is if my team's in it, piss off. Leave me alone. I want nothing to do with any. If any of my family knocks on the door before the game on Sunday.
They're not getting Christmas presents.
I'm not kidding when I say I will not let you in. You're not hanging out at my house. I'm not doing the Super Bowl with anybody. Now, if my team's not in it, I like to do a little get-together. I don't call it a party. I'm not inviting 88 people. Maybe a soiree. I have like maybe 10 people that show up, and most of them are in-laws. Like it's not like I got 80 friends that I'm inviting over. So Sunday I'll be a nervous wreck.
I've done big things where you got like 20, 30 people. You're running squares. You're doing all sorts of stuff. And
I got an invite to that party this year. My closest friends, they're doing that.
So if I have time to prep where I can get most of the food ready the day before and have it all dialed in. And I'm the opposite. Like if it was like back in the 90s when the Cowboys and you were pretty confident. Nothing better than gloating.
Yeah.
Nothing better than gloating in front of everybody.
But at the same time, I remember I went to the...
That's a good poll question. Is there anything better than getting to gloat at a Super Bowl party?
I was at a Super Bowl party when the Seahawks beat the Broncos.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and that's
that game
boat race.
He started gloating after the opening snap over his head.
80% of the people at this party are Seahawk fans.
Yeah.
By the middle of the second quarter, nobody was watching the game.
Yeah.
Nobody was talking. Nobody was gloating.
Nobody was talking.
They were just like, now it just became like a party. Like nobody was talking about the game.
Oh, so it's like drinking more. And
yeah,
like
it just became a party, not a Super Bowl thing. And I'm like, wait a sec. Like your team is boat racing Peyton Manning right now.
Yeah.
I'd be like standing outside screaming from the mountaintops.
Yeah, but like when you're up and being as dominant as they were in that game, you can only do that for so long. It just becomes like background noise.
Have
and
you
turn
met
on your
Seahawk fans?
Yeah, I have. Look, Seahawk fans.
Easy target.
No, I have nothing against Seahawk fans. They had like 30 years of irrelevance, and they finally got really effing good.
Really good.
And then down a little bit, and then really effing good, and they won the whole enchilada. I can't fault them for being who they are. Yeah. Every fan base is like that when you don't start out successfully.
That's true.
If the Chargers,
I suppose that's fair.
If Harbaugh and the Chargers take off in 2 years, they hired a quarterback coach. I thought there was a funny quote from Herbert about this guy, Shane. I want to say it's Shane Day, but maybe that's not his name. Anyways, they brought him back. Herbert worked with him in the NFL. There's a quote from Justin Herbert, or from the coach talking about Herbert, and the guy once said, Justin Herbert's the greatest quarterback. I created a highlight with 67 plays on it, and it's called Justin Herbert's the greatest quarterback. Anytime I'm having a bad day, I just sit and I watch it, and it makes me feel better. That's Justin Herbert's new quarterback coach, and I'm like, I love this guy. But I think if a team like that took off and, goes up, you think Charger fans going to be quietly like, hey, look at us.
Oh,
hell no, they're going to be in your face. Bolt up, bitch.
There's 35 Charger bars in Portland.
Yeah.
Because of the Herbert connection.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All these people that
Lions bars.
All these people that hate Harbaugh. It's the Pete
Those
Carroll.
are coming back.
all these people that hate Harbaugh right now, okay? It's the Pete Carroll thing, all right? We grew up Pac-12, right? We're all Pac-12 guys. Pac-10.
Pac-10.
We're all Pac-10 guys.
Well, Swag's
right?
a Pac-4.
We're all Pac-10 guys,
Welcome
all right?
Back.
And I remember most of my friends are Wazoo kids. I got a few Huskies, a few Beavs, a few Ducks, but most of us are Wazoo. And it always blew my mind how when Pete was dominating college football at USC, everybody hated him. The second he came to Seattle, he was like the second coming of Christ.
Oh, not in Seattle for me. That wasn't my experience.
For a lot of people,
hired.
once he got hired and that train started kind of moving and they could see it moving in the right direction, they were like, this Pete Carroll guy's not so bad.
Hey, Pete Carroll, I
love Pete. I always liked him at USC.
Sure.
It sucked that my team got boat raced by him every single day, but I went to Wazoo. I didn't go to USC.
Yeah, you're unfortunate. You were the second one in the Pac-2 in that race. We took care of business when he came to our town.
Yeah, I know. You guys could. I watched Reggie Bush with my own eyeballs, and that was fun.
Win forever. Get out of here. You're not winning today.
Yeah.
But the Super Bowl is here, and I'm a nervous wreck. I've been a nervous wreck all week. I'm going to wear my white Steve Young jersey.
Ooh, you're going the whites too. I hate that they're in the whites.
I was a little bummed by it. I was confused, and then I remember that I think it's based off of the stadium you're playing in. So since it's the Raiders in the AFC, they get to be the
it
home
alternates
team.
every year.
So when they pick stadiums, they keep AFC, NFC in mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, did not know that.
Yeah. So next year, I tell you right now,
So
Swag,
New Orleans next year.
me and Dirt are going. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah?
All right.
Is this building going to sell that trip and interested in doing it? Probably not in the slightest. But I'm going to Radio Row. I'm doing it. We're going to that trip.
To Radio Row, or
No, I'm not going to the game.
or to be in the festivities in New Orleans.
No. I just want to do the Radio Row experience.
So if it's in Detroit, you still want to go to Radio Row. Okay,
It's
cool.
not about New Orleans.
Okay.
Although New Orleans, I mean, obviously that's
great.
Yeah, but I'm not much of a drinker, and I feel like New Orleans is more of a drinking town. I'm a weed guy, so like I don't
think they like the weed in Louisiana.
No, that's against God, but not alcohol. You know what I mean? But I'm excited for the
Turn
game.
water into wine.
Yeah, touche. But
That guy threw Super Bowl parties. That guy threw bitchin' Super Bowl parties.
I'm just kind of stuck here.
A lot of carbs.
I've gone back and forth on it. I'm obviously rooting for my team, but
Yes.
I've gone back and forth on how I think this game is going to go. And I hope to God, you mentioned the Broncos-Seahawks game. That center pissed down his leg and the game started, and it was over. I'm just hoping that's not Brock Purdy. It's like second pass, pick, Javarius Sneed, Pat Mahomes at the Niner, 21, touchdown, Chiefs up 7-0, fumble ensue. Like, I hope we don't get a blowout. I don't think we will, but I've gone back and forth on this game all week. Obviously, I'm rooting for one side more than the other, but I've also played it out realistically as like a guy who loves sports. And I keep seeing both. I keep seeing how the Niners can win, and I don't really need to think hard of how the Chiefs win.
Yeah, I think if you worry about how the Niners lose per se, I don't think it can be that same way as John Fox and his Broncos team. And simply because the Shanahan plan, the like 15 plays that he draws out, and this is the schedule that we're going to run, and we're going to stick to it and then see how the game unfolds. That I think builds in a little bit more of a safety net for Brock. Okay, if the center snaps it over his head and it goes in for a safety, okay, that's obviously against the plan. But I think the way Shanahan's offense is built and how he knows to use Brock, he's going to make sure he starts comfortable. I don't see the peeing down the leg from the get-go. It could get run away in the second half, sure, but I don't think this game is over at the end of the first quarter. No way.
You have to remember, though, even though a lot of people thought the Seahawks were the better team there, that Bronco team was really stinking good. The Bronco team
was really good, yeah.
That was not some, random team that made it. That was a veteran group.
For sure.
That was ready to go, and they just, in the moment, when you get on that field and you hit that stage, it's different. You tell yourself all week, it's just another game, and then you get out there, the lights, the anthem, the juice, the television cameras, it's the logos on the field. It's all entirely different than what it's been all year.
I feel what you're saying. I think in this case, these superstars on the 49ers, I don't see them crumbling like that. Okay? And let's not forget that offensive line of Denver is staring at what is known as one of the greatest defensive units of all time.
Absolutely.
Not like this Mahomes thing. Mahomes could be one of the greatest all time. Kelsey could be one of the greatest all time, but not as a unit. I think that Denver Broncos offensive line is looking out there. That's a unit. That is a solid collection. We can sit here and still name probably all 11 starters on that defense. That's different, I think. That then you add the lights and the anthem and all that stuff. Then you can start peeing down your leg. But I think in this, I think the Kittles of the world are too crazy and emotional already that I don't know how they get more up than they already are.
It's a rematch, and that certainly might add a little something to it. We'll get more back into the Super Bowl coming up a little bit later on. Marcus Greaves will join us at 7:30 live from Las Vegas. CBS affiliate in San Diego gets to cover the Super Bowl this year. Our former intern on the show. And so we want to talk to old big shot Marcus Greaves at 7:30. Coming up next, some NFL awards given out yesterday. We got some of the speeches from that, and we'll do that next. But first, Swag with the sports update.
This is a Super Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, online at crunch.com. First on The Fan, despite a career-high 49 points from Jeremy Grant, Blazers could not protect a 23-point third-quarter lead against a shorthanded Pistons squad after they made a couple of trade deadline deals. They lose to Detroit 128-122 in overtime, kicking off a 7-game homestand. Next up, C.J. McCollum and the Pelicans come to Moda Center Saturday night. Earlier in the day, Blazers made a minor move at that trade deadline, acquiring backup guard Delano Banton from the Celtics in exchange for a protected second-round draft pick. NFL doling out the hardware Thursday night. They named Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson league MVP, his second. 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey named Offensive Player of the Year. The Cleveland Browns get 3 big awards. Quarterback Joe Flacco named Comeback Player of the Year. Defensive end Myles Garrett Defensive Player of the Year. And Kevin Stefanski earning Coach of the Year honors. To college hoops, the Oregon Ducks held off a furious comeback attempt by the Washington Huskies, who came from 20 down, got within a bucket late, but Jermaine Couisnard had 25 for an 85-80 victory. That keeps the Ducks 1 game out of first place in the Pac-12. In Corvallis, Beavers fall to Washington State 64-58. Rain suspended round 1 play at the Waste Management Phoenix Open on Thursday. Sahith Theegala did get his round in. He's leading at 6 under par. Play resumes this morning at 7:30 a.m. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino has all the postseason pro football action on the big screens with big-time sports betting action. Visit SpiritMountain.com.
You're invited to play in the first annual Fan Winter Golf Classic at X Golf Tualatin.
She is my baby and she lives next door.
This is a super week edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
on 1080 The Fan.
We'll get to the Blazers had a massive trade yesterday.
Let's
I don't know if you
go.
saw that.
Feel the fever.
Right before the buzzer went off for the trade deadline.
Will
Making moves.
this trade prevent us from being a top 5 pick? 2 hours on that coming up at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, we will talk about that at 7 o'clock. Recap a little bit of that, and then Marcus at 7:30 will get us in the Super Bowl. We'll get some prop bets, how we're feeling about the game, our final thoughts. We'll spread the line.
I think I got my Sprague in the line stuff ready to go.
I got mine ready to go, and I got a funny story to share at 8:30 on that. And then Andrew Nimick at 8:15 for a 49er fan therapy session because, Kansas City Chief fan, you don't need therapy. You have Patrick freaking Mahomes.
I got Mahomes. You got a couple Lombardi trophies there in recent years. They're just fine.
Even if you lose that game, you're just going to be like, cool, we'll be back next year. We're at least going to be in the Final Four.
So I don't really know a whole lot about the Chiefs, but this Taylor Swift guy sounds really fast.
He is incredible.
I'm going with them.
Yeah. Got a real nice tight end.
Oh, baby.
Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift.
That guy's fast.
Good tight ends. We had NFL awards yesterday. I always think it's weird when the award show goes on the week of the Super Bowl, but that's what they do.
Yeah, don't they? I thought they tried to subscribe to the MLB policy of when it's the World Series, don't do anything.
No,
Remember how mad they were at Alex Rodriguez when he got traded to the Yankees during the World Series? They were like, what are you doing?
No, I think the NFL's got it right now. That's a big banquet because they also announce the next Hall of Fame class as well at this event.
Going to get to that at 6:45 because me and Patrick were both pretty pissed about something that happened. But the award ceremony happens. Let's start with this one. Comeback Player of the Year. This one seemed like a done deal.
Yeah, the start of the year.
It was DeMar Hamlin minus 3,000.
Yeah.
Minus 3,000. It was like DeMar or the field. That was literally what your bet was.
Well, the field didn't know that elite Joe Flacco was coming on the scene.
No, they did not. Joe Flacco. I still think Baker should have won this award because Joe Flacco didn't play a whole season. But Joe Flacco was good for the Browns, helped lead them to the playoffs.
It was a huge story for 3 weeks.
It was. And Joe Flacco won. Here was Joe Flacco last night.
First of all, I just want to congratulate all you other nominees and winners here tonight. Such a special group of men. I'm just honored to be up here and get to enjoy it all with you guys. Big thanks to the city of Cleveland and just everybody in Cleveland. I want to say thank you to my teammates just for welcoming me into that locker room at that point in the year. To welcome a new guy is not the easiest thing, so I want to say thank you to those guys. I want to say thank you to the organization for just giving me the opportunity to do what I love to do, and that's play football. And want to say thank you to the city just for making me and my family feel at home for a couple months. Truly special. And before I get out of here, I want to say thank you to my beautiful wife. None of this would be possible without her running the show back at home and being the woman that she is. So thank you, guys.
I know Joe Flacco being elite or not elite was a topic years ago. I was kind of happy for Joe Flacco last night.
For sure.
I thought that was a cool moment.
For sure. It's great. I mean, as much as Flacco, I think it was a little bit ad nauseum with the Browns going into the playoffs. Like Flacco, it's kind of like beat over our heads a little bit. But for a guy that won a Super Bowl, who probably had a 3-year stretch of really good quarterback play, to just kind of be discarded and have a really crappy stint in New York, a guy who seems to be a good dude, who was at a high talent level, kind of get a shot, that's great. Why wouldn't you root for that? Is that not half of what we watch sports for?
Oh, yeah. The comeback story is always part of the sports scene that we love to talk about, for sure.
Yeah, I think Flacco's a great story.
I do, too. What his future holds, who knows? But he had a nice moment with the Cleveland Browns this year, and he gets rewarded with it with Comeback Player of the Year.
I'd hang it up.
Well, you certainly go out.
Go out on a partial sunset.
On a partial sunset. Yeah, that Houston game.
Regular season award.
Obviously, we know quarterback wins MVP every year at this point. We've only had a skill position player hasn't won MVP since Adrian Peterson in 2012. It is 2024. I think we just need to call this what it is. Offensive Player of the Year is the skill position guys. MVP is quarterback. Christian McCaffrey, busy getting ready for a Super Bowl. He won Offensive Player of the Year, and here was a speech.
My teammates, man, I can't even put into words how much I love you guys. This has been the most fun I've ever had playing football. I'm not up here without you. Football is the greatest game on the planet. It's the biggest team sport in the world, and we're so lucky to get to enjoy it. And the fact that I get to go to battle with you guys every week is one of my greatest honors because of the way you guys play football and inspire me every single day. I'm not up here without you. I love you guys. We got one more. Let's go finish it the right way. Appreciate it, guys.
Now, just in case anybody accuses me, I didn't quite go NBC here. I did not just cut out the I'd like to thank God part of that speech. He did thank family and friends, and I cut all that out as well. So I got to
You're not anti-God. You're anti-everyone.
No, yeah,
You're an equal opportunity hater.
I only care about the team part.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, thank God. That's cool. All of them did last night. I don't care about that. And I don't want to get into it too much now. But when I get to the nervously confident thing, it's him.
Yep.
It's him. It's him running for 123 yards and having maybe 2 touchdowns. That's what leaves me into that space.
It should be. It's the way he plays. It's the way he holds himself. It's his family. It's his parents. It's how he was raised. It's his coaches that he's had from college to the NFL. He's been with a lot of great players and great coaches. He was just on some bad Carolina teams and couldn't stay healthy.
He was also on, I think, the end of the Cam Newton run. He had some good Carolina teams. But yeah, his career is the best football, most excited he's ever been playing football.
I heard that and I was like, shot at Carolina.
Oh, I mean, Carolina, come on. Did you hear the joke from, who was the Key and Peele? Michael, is it Michael Keegan? I always forget.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Anyways, he made a joke and he was talking about being far away from a Super Bowl. And then he said, nobody's further away, though, from a Super Bowl than the Panthers. And Dave Canales was then Ted is like, what? Excuse me. But
come again.
McCaffrey and Shanahan have the opportunity to do something that isn't done very often. Father-son duo. Ed McCaffrey, his dad, and Mike Shanahan, the OC, won a Super Bowl together in San Francisco. You could have Kyle and Christian win it in San Francisco as well.
And then, but you could also say head coach and player because isn't McCaffrey on those Broncos teams with Elway? Or does he come later?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, no, he was the head coach of the.
But
Broncos,
I see the Niner comparison, but also just head coach and player. That's pretty rad.
Here is the league MVP, Lamar Jackson, with the shortest. This is the entire speech. I thought it was a goof. This was the entire Lamar Jackson MVP speech.
First and foremost, I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Without him,
bro, God. I put God in there.
Nothing is possible.
Praise up.
I want to thank my organization, Baltimore Ravens, for, finally getting this deal done. Shout out to Eric, shout out to Steve, Coach Harbaugh, the whole unit. My offense, man, my offensive line, man, I can't thank them enough for what they've done. I'm not out there blocking, catching the ball, doing everything. As my team, it's a team thing, for these awards. And, I want to thank my family at home. But you guys have a great night, and that's all, folks.
36-second MVP speech. How about that? He got right to the point.
Not much else to say.
Well, I think it kind of sucks to be there.
At this point, to be the MVP.
You're there at Super Bowl week. Yeah. McCaffrey just got done saying, we got to go get one more. Let's do it the right way.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking about this last night. I didn't hear the speeches. This is the first I've heard the speeches. I was thinking about it, and I was like, does Lamar just get up there and take it and say, thanks? I'd trade all this and my money to be playing tomorrow.
He was bummed. He had a red carpet thing, and he basically was like, I'm so sorry, man. Like, I know this is not the hardware we wanted to bring back. And, well, he would be there if they were in the Super Bowl. He still would have been doing that.
Well, of course. But, I mean, without being in the Super Bowl, I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you for the MVP. I'm sure I got a nice clause in my fat contract that triggers a bunch of extra money for this. I don't want to be here.
It is the 2007 Dirk Nowitzki MVP. It's like, hey, you're the best player. Thanks. We're going to lose to the Warriors in round 1 as a 1 seed. What a bad year to get an MVP.
For the first time ever. Yeah.
So NFL awards given out. Coming up next, something else happening in the National Football League. Not quite the Super Bowl, but something that's a little upsetting and troubling. And if this guy doesn't do it, who does? That's next on The Fan.
It's back by This is a Super Week edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
on 1080 The Fan.
All right, we'll get to some Blazer trade deadline thing. I don't know about you guys, but there's a massive trade they pulled off yesterday. It was also nice to wake up and see that they had blown a 23-point lead to the Pistons and lost the game. I didn't know they lost until I woke up.
I was watching that in real time.
Who's the worst bad team between those two?
What do you mean?
Like, your
Pistons.
goal is to lose, yet you guys win in the most inopportune times.
Oh, Portland cannot lose to the Pistons. That shouldn't be happening.
No.
The Pistons are a special level of bad. And
I understand, but we're all fighting for higher draft picks.
They were
here.
shorthanded. They had
they
actually
traded
made some
all
real deals.
Yeah, they traded everybody. 23-point lead, and I know they lost Ant. They didn't have Dwop. They didn't have Ayton. Like, okay, I know, but it's the Pistons. It's 23 points. Jeremy Grant went for like 50 points.
You just named the two highest paid players on the team.
They had Ant for most of that game. I think he left in the third quarter.
Yeah, he rolled an ankle or something.
I went to bed just shortly after that thinking, okay, that sucks, but they'll be fine. And then I woke up and it was like 128, 122. I'm like, what? To the Pistons?
Yep.
We'll get to some of that coming up at the top of the hour. You text me something which was funny because I had the same reaction yesterday.
And I wasn't even going to text you. So, full disclosure, let's pull the curtain back here. Brandon, you and I have been acquaintance work friends for almost a decade now. We don't hang out. We don't really text. We don't really have a relationship outside the building. That's fine. That's not what I mean. When I text that to you, I was like, oh my God, am I that guy annoying him because I'm hosting with him tomorrow?
No, not on that topic.
Because then you didn't respond for a while, and I was like,
yeah,
oh, God.
Yeah, no.
Oh, my God, I'm so scared. What if he doesn't like me?
So the class of 2024 for the NFL Hall of Fame, which...
Pretty studly.
I'm going to give you a
lot of defense.
Here's a lukewarm take. This is the last Hall of Fame that matters.
Why so?
Like this class or of all the sports?
Sports.
Oh, agreed.
Baseball's Hall of Fame is a joke at this point, and basketball is not even an NBA Hall of Fame. Yeah. It's pro basketball. So if you were awesome in Europe and then you were in the NBA for like a season, you're in the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame.
Oh, I thought you were going the other way around.
No, the NFL Hall of Fame is the only Hall of Fame that I give any credence to.
Oh, I still give a lot of credence to Major League Baseball.
Nah, they're a joke. They don't know how to do what they're doing. And I know you're the hot corner guy.
And it's not because I'm a baseball guy. It's because I think there is still I think there's still more prestige of being in the MLB in Cooperstown than Canton.
No way.
I do. Sports-wise.
Adrian Beltre is a Hall of Famer and Barry Bonds is not.
Well, there's reasons for that.
Can you tell him? Because there was no positive test, so.
There are many documents in court.
But Adrian Beltre played in the same era. He's, not as suspect. Okay,
I do think he's pretty suspect.
Yeah, no, Jeff Bagwell, definitely.
Pudge Rodriguez.
Oh, shocking. Look at that.
All right.
Class of 2024, Dwight Freeney, Devin Hester, Andre Johnson, Julius Peppers, my guy Patrick Harris.
Nice. I'm in the hall.
Steve Mongo McMichael. Finally made it, man. There's a really good piece on him, by the way, that Schefter did. And Randy Gradishar, all making the NFL Hall of Fame. Who didn't? Well, a couple people, but one of the biggest ones, no Antonio Gates.
Absolutely shocking. Okay?
Pretty surprising.
If we sit here, okay, Kelsey's still got a career going, so I don't know how that plays out. We sit here, Tony Gonzalez, number one, right? That's the greatest tight end of all time.
Gronk or Gonzalez.
Yeah. Okay, I'll throw Gronk. Good call. I always forget about Gronk.
They're all different.
They all play different.
Right.
Gronk is just such a massive human being. Tony Gonzalez was still playing when Antonio Gates was in the league. Mm-hmm. And there were people saying this guy could be better than Tony Gonzalez. Mm-hmm. And I know Tony Gonzalez is on TV, and I love him on TV, and he seems like just an awesome, awesome dude. There was a time where we were asking the question, is Antonio Gates the best tight end ever? For years and years and years. Little bolts fired up right here because I watched that guy's entire career. That guy is absolutely incredible. He could catch, he could block, and he could throw the football. How he's not in here, but a return man is? I know Devin Hester's the best ever to do it.
Stop.
But I'm not having this.
No.
I'm not having a top 3 tight end of all time not getting in on the first ballot when a guy like Devin Hester gets in. I'm not here for it.
What I will not do is I will not tear down anybody that did make it because of somebody who didn't. Devin Hester is a Hall of Fame player.
I'm down with that.
He's the greatest return man of all time.
Maybe this is my Major League Baseball problem, where that the first time is a big deal.
Well, yeah, I kind of think that too. I looked up some numbers here, so I thought there were a couple snubs. I think Gates, Rodney Harrison didn't make it. I was kind of shocked by that. And, you can certainly say...
I don't think people like Rodney Harrison. He might be kind of the Kurt Schilling-ish.
I don't think it's quite that bad, but yeah, there's probably something.
A lot of people, he's like a 4-time voted by players dirtiest player in the NFL.
Yeah, but I watched him play football. That was a Hall of Fame DB. And Torrey Holt, I thought, was one. Jared Allen was close for me. If you tell me he makes it eventually, deserving for sure.
I liked him.
Well, 8 out of 9 years, he had 11 sacks or more. 8 out of 9 straight years.
I feel like he was one of the first guys in the modern day era to be a psychopath who had psychopath hair. Like George Kittle his look is because of Jared Allen.
Jared Allen, he had the Jack in the Box thing. Mm-hmm. Remember his celebration? I loved that. I thought there was some other snubs, but Gates, to me, it's egregious he didn't make it.
Again, yeah. Find me a tight end in the history of the game that's better than him.
No, because
the two are Tony Gonzalez and Gronk.
If you go down the list, it's Gronk, it's Gonzalez, it's Kelsey, and then it's just subjective there. And you certainly could put Gates in at that point and say that's where Antonio Gates slots in. The ability was awesome. You and I both saw that, and I know you got a little more tie with the fandom there, but.
Are we downgrading the tight end position? Because right now the tight end position is more important than it's ever been.
Kittle said this. He said, if you look at the last 7 Super Bowls, how pivotal is the tight end?
It's huge. So you would think in today's world, with like again, to harp back to baseball, not to continue to tout this, but Ortiz and Edgar get in because we now know how pivotal a DH can be.
Right.
In today's age, when we know how pivotal a tight end is, how is one of the greatest to ever do it not getting that respect?
I completely agree with you, and thank you for proving my point at the end of the segment as well. He was on a Mitchell report, David Ortiz. He's in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds not, though. But okay, keep telling me the Hall of Fame in baseball knows what they're doing. We have a loaded second hour of the show. We will get into the Super Bowl, dive deep into it, but we'll start. Blazers trade deadline, massive trade made yesterday. We'll hear from Joe Cronin, hour 2, Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
football's biggest week.
I know it's Vegas, and it's a lot of fun, but for us, it's a business trip in the true sense, and we're going there to play a football game and try to find our way to win it. I think that has to be the mindset starting today.
The Chiefs are in their fourth Super Bowl in 5 years. While we might be under the radar, I guess, to people on the outside, I think the Chiefs are very aware that we're not under the radar at all.
This is a Super Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com. Injured? Don't trust just anyone to something so personal. Call George McCoy at Warren Allen. Online at WarrenAllen.com.
Super Week with Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
We know we're seeing something special.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2. Dirt and Sprague here on Portland Sports Radio, 1080 The Fan. P. Harris filling in. Dirt is still out.
Not dead.
Did you say holla?
Holla.
Sounds about white. We got Swag is back here from his road trip, calling those Pilots games.
Yep. We got one more regular season trip next week.
Dropping a pilot into a hungry dog's kennel doesn't go so well, does it?
Yeah, the kennel has not been kind to the Pilots.
It's not been
really
kind to a lot of teams, yeah.
18 in a row we've lost up there. Woo! 2003, the last win in Spokane.
Oh, my Lord.
Wow.
Marcus Greaves, our former intern, he now works at the CBS affiliate in San Diego. He's covering the Super Bowl for the station in Vegas. So we will get Marcus Greaves either live from the craps table, just waking up, or at the end of the bender where he just said, I'm staying up all night because we're going home today, so I'm going to gamble at 3 a.m.
Please be the last one. Please be the last one. Please be the last one.
You know who that would be? That'd be me.
That'd be me, too, for sure.
I was out at the craps table last time I was the only time I've been to Vegas. I was on the floor just meandering about gambling till 3:50 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
God, it felt amazing. Me and a bunch of olds who were just chain smoking, just gambling.
See, and I'm not a big gambler, so I feel what I would do is I would just make my body change. I would just vampire it, okay? It can be, depending on when you go.
Sure.
It can be so GD hot down there that I'd just be like, you know what? I'm asleep in the day. And then at about 5 o'clock, wake up. Hit somewhere, grab some breakfast.
Yep.
Catch a show at 7 p.m.
Vodka Red Bull at 8.
Yep.
Let's go.
Get done with that show and then start wandering the strip and just kind of look around because you know the party's still going. What do I need daytime for?
You don't need daytime.
And then once the sun starts to rise, you can sit there and you're like, wow, that's beautiful. I'm going to go to bed.
I want to get to a take I have on the Super Bowl festivities. There's something about the Super Bowl that I've realized about myself, and I'll tell you what that is at 7:15. Before we dive in, let's talk about the Blazers. I went to bed and they were up 20 points. I woke up and found that they had choked away a 20-point lead.
23.
I think it got higher at the second quarter. Like there was a moment where it felt like it was almost 30.
When did the lead start to trickle away?
Late third quarter.
Late third, fourth. When
they
Ant
were
went out.
Up 15 going to the fourth.
Yeah. Give me a second here. I'll look at it. But I feel like there was a moment where they were like 26 in the second. Anyways, I woke up. They lost to the Pistons. So that was nice to wake up to. Anthony Simons rolled his ankle. A bunch of guys didn't play. But Jeremy Grant scored 49 points. We had the trade deadline. Delano Banton. Big Delano Banton from the Boston Celtics is who we acquired.
Hey, he brings championship pedigree. Like, they're on a run right now.
He does. He knows what it's like to win. He's watched Jason Tatum from afar. The pride of Nebraska, as one of our listeners told me. And that was the big move for the Blazers on deadline day. I did sign off on the show saying they're probably doing nothing, and they did something, but you could still argue they didn't do anything. Delano Banton is the guy. Joe Cronin holding a press conference before they choked away that Piston game. And here was Joe Cronin summing up the trade deadline.
Quick review of the trade deadline. Very content with how it went. Like the way the team is playing. We've been extremely active and transactional the last 2 years. Wanted to give these guys a chance to settle in, gel, connect.
They have been active and transactional. Last deadline, they traded away their good players, one of which they gave a mid-level to who conned us into the contract, and we got duped. Josh Hart got traded, and then, of course, the Dame stuff. So standing pat pretty much with the roster, wants to allow these guys to play together. He then went on to talk about the offers he had, because he's got guys of value in this league.
Sure, the big talk's Malcolm Brogdon. You're going to move him. Jeremy Grant, obviously, although that's kind of settled a little bit of late.
Yeah, Grant seems to like it here. He just had a kid. It's mellow. He's got familiarity. The organization likes him
every night.
Absolutely. Gets his shots, gets his buckets. And, there was some talk of Malcolm maybe being moved. I thought when the Knicks got Bogdanovich, that was a pretty clear indicator they'd moved on. Here was Joe talking about the offers.
Yeah, received lots of offers. I think it did make it somewhat more difficult to pry from us because we are happy with who we have and where we're at. So, of course, we always want to be opportunistic and, not just be thorough in this market, but have a great feel for what our options are and what's available. And, in any transaction, you're just evaluating whether this is a good move for you or not. And all the discussions we had this time around, we chose to pass on them.
So passing for now, largely the deadline was a general dud, not just for the Blazers, basically for the league. Buddy Hield went to the Sixers. P.J. Washington went to the Mavs. We mentioned Bogdanovich. Those are the three biggest players traded yesterday.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with, you know the league better than I do. So, please, by all means, tell me to shut up. It feels like the gap between the haves and the have-nots is pretty big right now.
Shut up. Swag, what did you think of the deadline? I'm just kidding.
What big name is available? Who's got a great name that is going nowhere, that is very much ready to let them go?
Well, DeJounte Murray was maybe the biggest name involved in most of the conversations because the Lakers have been a disaster and because the Hawk thing with Young and DeJounte, it's they don't have chemistry. They don't play well together.
There's no Aaron Gordon. You know what I mean?
I just said DeJounte Murray.
Is that an Aaron Gordon?
You can make an argument he's better than Aaron Gordon.
Okay,
yes.
fair then. So then there's one. And I think that's what it is, that you're lacking a lot of those. So it doesn't make sense to put all in for guys that aren't really worth what they probably cost at a deadline to make a run.
I think what we saw, too, was a bad draft looming. And also the cap's going to be restructuring to its new position. So there's a lot of financial uncertainty and how are they going to navigate it, who's making what. It just felt like a laid back deadline, not only for what you're saying of who was the biggest name, but also no interest in this draft. And let's see where we're at financially in the summer, and then we maybe get aggressive and make them move.
Yeah, and there were some teams, the Wizards had some guys they needed to move off the books, but
yeah, Kuzma didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, teams that maybe in the past would have added stuff on the books and accepted the tax, the new tax levels, the penalties for going over the tax are so much higher now with this new deal that it's just not cost effective, and it's harder to get out of those contracts if you take them on and it doesn't work.
But also remember, OG, Siakam, RJ Barrett, those names were moved.
Those are pre-deadline trades.
They are pre-deadline trades, but those are big names that still got moved. Is it because it wasn't on the trade deadline that it wasn't a good trade year? Those are big moves.
No, certainly that's a fair point, but it's not just a label as some bad thing. I don't think it has to be a bad thing, even though I've said the NBA media doesn't know how to cover the NBA.
They're pretty.
All they want to do is lead every podcast with, how about the Lakers, huh? And then who's going to get traded? Instead of telling me, why is it working for Minnesota now this year?
Right, but wasn't last year.
But it didn't last year. Why is Oklahoma City took a step? Which, by the way, I know we talked about this, Swag. Oklahoma City, I know they got Gordon Hayward. Okay, I guess cool. I was a little surprised. I didn't want them to make a massive trade. They need depth at big, and they didn't do it. I was a little surprised.
Well, the question is, they must feel confident Hayward's going to be back.
He's 6'7", though. I'm talking about having real, kind of insurance at that position.
Who do you need to do that against other than Denver?
Minnesota. They've got.
Yeah, but Cat plays on the perimeter.
Yeah,
and you're not worried about
thing
this
with
year.
Anthony Davis. He's a 3 or a 4. He just happens to be 6'11". The only guy that's really going down into the paint and pounding people is Jokic.
Well, I was surprised because clearly they want to gear it up and allow them to compete. I just thought that they would go make that move, and they didn't. The final one I want to get to here, or I got a couple here. Joe Cronin talking about what are the goals for the rest of a season? A miserable season. What are the goals?
Keep getting better day by day.
By day by day.
By day by day.
Was our approach going into it. Nothing's really changed. We have a lot of individual development and team development to go through. And, we have some really young, talented, capable guys that we're seeing good growth from. Just got to keep doing that. And at the same time, we've got to learn to play together. We've got to still get better defining and establishing our style of play.
This is the one that hacked me off. You haven't defined your style of play. What's Chauncey been doing? Well, they're not close.
That's it.
That was the indication to me. We had this conversation before I left. How much longer are you willing to be patient? How much longer are you willing to go through whatever process they're going through? Because it could be a long time, and there's no guarantee that you get to where you want to go when they say it's time to go all in.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know.
I was a little confused. I put up a question yesterday on the show page at the end of the show, and the way people read it was interesting. And I'm not a great writer at all, so I'm fully taking some responsibility.
You're doing great, buddy. You're doing great.
Well, but a year ago they said, you're almost going to be questioning or offended by how much we're going to push our chips all in to build around Dame. And obviously that didn't happen, right? It went the other way. So I just put up, do you actually trust them when they say you're going to question or wonder why we're going so all in? When that move presents itself, however long that is, do you trust them to do it? And people are like, why would they do it right now? And I'm like, there's no timestamp on this question. This is just open-ended. Do you actually trust them to put their chips all in and go, here's 3 firsts and a young player. Give us this guy. He will add something to what we have. I don't know how based on what we've seen with this regime, previous regime, I don't know how you can say yes to that. Personally, it's not to say that Joe won't. It's just I can only go off what I've seen, and what I've seen is kind of the opposite. We're going to sell off our parts, and we're going to keep waiting for the right draft pick to land here, which maybe that's Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg will not be drafted until next June. Right. So that is another season of this, of blowing games to the Pistons because one player rolled his ankle and the rest of the guys playing not good enough to beat a Detroit Piston team that is one of the worst we've seen in the NBA in a long time.
I think I'm willing to give Joe a little more slack on this. And I think it's obviously different when you're dealing the superstar as opposed to wanting a superstar, dealing for a superstar. But I thought the Dame trade went well, all things considered. Like, I think the return he got for it was pretty good. Okay. So let's build on that.
But his position 3 months, 4 months prior to that was we're going to go all in for Dame.
Agreed.
And it switched. And you can certainly say that's the right decision.
I think he had to switch. Like, I don't know if that's his call. Like not
to keep the 3rd pick in the draft, not move the 23rd pick in the draft.
Not that the high up said no, but that there wasn't anything on the table for him. If that's the case, then that's the case.
Anytime you don't make a good big trade, it's very easy to say, well, I'm not sure there was a lot there for him. That's kind of an out without knowing for sure if that's true or not.
My only hesitation on him is how long this Chauncey thing keeps going on.
Well, the Chauncey, I mean, he talked about Chauncey.
That's what's got to change.
He raved about Chauncey
If he's going to hang on to Chauncey through this, that's when you're going to start
Chauncey's
to
a 5-year deal. It's year 3. He's not getting fired. He talked yesterday about how he's actually liked the growth and development that some of the young players have had with Chauncey. I'll play this final one. Just Quick asked him what he's made, and this is such a weird question to have to answer, but I understand why Quick would definitely ask it. How do you feel like you've done as the general manager?
Yes, I really like where we're positioned. I like where we're headed. I like what we're capable of. I like our team. I like our staff. I like our organization. I think we're well on our way to good things in the future.
I mean,
well, what are you going to say?
Yeah, I don't know.
I hate where we are.
Yeah, no, he's not going to say that.
These picks aren't going to be that great.
I'm not even trying to highlight whether it was a good or bad answer. It's got to be a tough question to answer. Swag, how do you think you are as the Pilots play-by-play man? Mediocre, but getting better? No, you're going to be like, I'm good.
You know, my defense could get some improvement, and we're terrible in Spokane, but I'm getting there.
You know, the team's actually worse than me. I'm one of the MVPs of this deal.
But it's funny because you kind of mentioned it earlier, or I think it was Swag that said it. This team has no identity. And that identity comes from your coach, from your system. Like, what is it that you do? What is it that Portland does other than throw a bunch of kids out there and Jeremy Grant?
They play hard sometimes.
Sometimes. But, like, they don't even have that identity. That's what bothers me so much. And that's where I would say, okay, maybe not on Cronin if he believes in Chauncey that much. When Chauncey was a player, he had identity. All these teams that are good and these teams that are bad, they have identity. Look at Minnesota. Nobody believes they're going to go on a run, but at least I can tell you what they do.
I think overall it's when you're bad and you're building and you're tanking, but you're clearly not trying to win the most games, it's going to be hard to have an identity in that process. And the only thing that I would say, and then we'll go here, the only thing I'd say to that too is, as true as that is, at some point though, and this is year 3 for Chauncey, like, is year 4 going to be the year where you go, I know what style of play we are going to have, I know who we are? You have to, at some point, have to be able to answer that question.
Yeah.
There's only so long you can go without answering it. I don't like this anymore. Am I alone? Next on The Fan.
The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
This is a Super Week edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
on 1080 The Fan.
Get those Sprague and Line sponsors in to the Vancouver Ford text line, 503-864-6326. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit them for more information at VancouverFord.com. We'll Sprague and Line at 8:30 today. Little funny story on that. We have confirmed Marcus Greaves awake.
Yeah, I just texted him, make sure I still have the same phone number. Was all good.
Yes.
Said yeah, so he's awake.
All right, we'll have Marcus
Greaves. Call him in about 10 minutes.
Yep, live from Vegas. I want to get to a Super Bowl related thing. So we talked earlier about parties. Super Bowl parties, yay or nay. If my team's in it, I'm way nay. If they're not, I'm yay. Okay, I can do the Super Bowl with noise and stuff, but if my team's in it, I need to be isolated. You can vote at Dirt and Sprague on that, by the way. There is an element of the Super Bowl that's always gotten conversation, and it does every Monday, Tuesday. And I want to get out in front of this now and tell you I've officially reached the point where I don't get excited about it, and I don't care, like, at all. Super Bowl commercials officially for me are kind of a dead topic. I don't care. I don't find most commercials really worth the conversation. You usually get like one or two at most that are good, and then they play it so much that you kind of just go, okay, that was a good one, but I've seen it 88 times because you spent $3.5 million for it. We've done that topic on this show several times in the last decade. I'm to the point now, like, of all the things, the anthems, America the Beautiful, all that stuff. Okay, I'm interested. Halftime show. I'm interested.
Dude. Usher, baby.
Commercials, it's kind of the one thing. It's like I don't care at all about commercials anymore. I've reached my threshold of caring about commercials.
Well, it's funny that as you were saying, this is what I'm playing that game in my head. Oh, where's he gonna go? Where's he gonna go? I was about to go. Oh, say can't. It's trying to figure out where you were going. And now that you mention commercials, I think this is one of the first years in maybe ever. I don't know if I've had this conversation at all with anybody. Like, oh, you like the commercials, or like,
people
what are you gonna
always love the commercials.
Right.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard a peep about it this year. I think a lot of it stems from the fact that because they spend so much money on these and because of the era we live in, most of us have seen all the big ones now. Like a lot of them are on YouTube already. A lot of them are on, some TikTok or something like that. People have seen a lot of these now. So that element of surprise for some of them, I think, is gone. And I also think people know that the NFL is a commercial machine. And they're kind of like, well, that's just what they do. And number 3 is people are real tired of seeing Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce on commercials.
Well, even if you don't have Mahomes and Kelce, and I just, in general, like, I didn't really care last year. I remember, like, we talked about it very briefly, but, like, they played. And my other thing is I'll sometimes forget commercials that play. I don't take notes on commercials like, oh, the Old Spice spot in the second quarter was really good. I just don't care.
I think that's also what I'm saying and why you don't care. Like, I stream everything. Like, I don't have cable.
Yeah.
Okay. But I do have YouTube TV, and that's what I use to watch my sports, at least for now. We'll see how that goes.
Right.
But so when I do that, that's the only place I see commercials. And because I am so not used to seeing commercials, it is so easy to tune out. When a commercial starts, I'm like, oh, yeah, moving on.
I kind of view them like naming rights of a stadium or an arena.
Yeah.
Like, do you actually, because they spend millions of dollars on that. So
and I still call it the Rose Garden.
But do they get their money's worth? I think they found that stadium naming rights are about as worthless an investment a company can actually make.
How long did we call it Candlestick after it was something else?
It ended in Monster Park. I called it Candlestick the entire
time. Yeah.
So, do you think it's worth it to spend
Superdome.
$5 million?
All what goes into it too, like the Moda Center. But if you notice, Moda's getting a whole bunch of commercials during broadcasts, and there's other. So just to pay to stick your name on the outside of it.
But you can't just go, hey, I want the Moda.
I mean,
healthcare.
how many people?
I still don't know what Lumen is.
Yeah,
it took me a long time to know what CenturyLink was.
Oh, yep. Really?
Well, I mean, once I found out, but like that wasn't an offer down here.
Well, but okay, so let's go through it. So you got like a beer sponsor, Doritos,
Pepsi,
Pepsi, Coke, and then like fast food and maybe like a random GoDaddy. Hey, we might be doing porn, but you got to go to our website to find out. Do any of those products like get increased in sale? I can't imagine that you're making me want to buy Doritos more than maybe I already am buying.
Well, I think if I were to be trying to justify spending whatever you got to spend for the Super Bowl, I think it would be the only place it would be great is if I was introducing a new product or a new brand and I wanted to get the most eyeballs in front of it to introduce it.
Like that's when you tell me about Starry. You can't just create Starry. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Can I have Sierra Mist?
So if I had something brand new, brand new or a new, just something I was introducing for the first time,
sure,
then it'd be great because I'm never going to have that many eyeballs of all across the demographics in one spot at the same time.
For the longest time, so Pepsi is the soda sponsor of the Super Bowl in the NFL. It is that way because for the longest time, I don't know if they have in the last couple of years, if it's come back, Coca-Cola was not a sponsor and didn't have commercials during the Super Bowl because they said it wasn't worth their money.
It still isn't.
There are people in third world countries that drink our beverage because they don't have water. Having a commercial at the Super Bowl is not going to improve sales of Coca-Cola. We are king. Why do we care? It's like Disney. Disney doesn't need a commercial. They get the guy at the end that says, I'm going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the commercial.
It.
Yeah.
That's the commercial.
Yeah.
It's not high priced. It's just pictures and videos of kids at Disneyland having fun. That's it. Because Disney's like, look, we're effing Disney. That's why, like, Swizzle's not going to do the halftime show.
Yeah.
Why do I need that exposure? My next tour is worth $4 billion. What am I going to do that for?
By the way, advertise your asses off, Pepsi. I'm still buying Coke.
I'm still buying Coke. I'm still buying Coke.
By the way, someone said, put some respect on 3Com Park. That's right. They had 3Com Park before it was Monster Park. They kept trying to call it Park.
Yeah, like I'm just it's the Rose
Company
Garden.
Park. Company Park. Yeah, I wish it was.
Sometimes I call Giant Stadium in San Francisco baseball. Sometimes I call it Pac Bell.
Neil says
because that's what it opened as.
Neil says companies are really paying $3 million for me to watch a 30-second commercial and try to figure out what they were trying to sell, and that's the other part of it. Is like sometimes you're like, what was that? Let's get to the Super Bowl itself. Marcus Greaves, our former intern, very proud of him. He is in Vegas covering the Super Bowl for the CBS affiliate in San Diego. So Marcus Greaves will join us coming up at 7:30. Get those Sprague line sponsors in to the Vancouver Ford text line, but the Daily Ticker is next on The Fan.
This is a Super Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on The Fan. Despite a career-high 49 points from Jeremy Grant, Blazers could not protect the 23-point third-quarter lead against the shorthanded Pistons, and they lose in overtime 128-122 to Detroit. That starts a 7-game homestand. Next team into Moda Center, C.J. McCollum and his New Orleans Pelicans. Earlier in the day, Blazers made a minor move at the NBA trade deadline, acquiring backup guard Delano Banton from the Celtics in exchange for a protected second-round pick. On the college hardwood, the Oregon Ducks held off a furious comeback attempt by the Washington Huskies, coming from 20 down to get within a bucket late. But Jermaine Couisnard had 25 points, and Oregon prevails 85-80, keeping the Ducks just one game behind Arizona for first place in the Pac-12. In Corvallis, Beavers go down to Washington State 64-58. Rain suspended first-round play at the Waste Management Phoenix Open on Thursday. Sahith Thigala did finish his round. He's atop the leaderboard at 6 under. Play is set to resume momentarily at TPC Scottsdale. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino has all the postseason pro football action on the big screens with big-time sports betting action. Visit spiritmountain.com.
Live, local, and free. No
We do this. Let's go over the ground rules.
This is the Daily Ticker, where Dirt and Sprague visit the insiders that are covering the stories you've heard about and some you haven't.
How'd you do that? Actually, I'm not even mad. It's amazing.
The Daily Ticker with Dirt and Sprague on 1080 The Fan.
All right, Daily Ticker time here on The Fan. We've talked a little bit about the Super Bowl, but we've been talking about it for 2 weeks. And I'm pretty excited here, P. Harris, because this guy, once upon a time, was busting his butt behind the scenes, doing whatever it took to be a good intern, a good coworker, if you would, for free at The Fan.
I would argue one of the more attractive people to walk through these doors.
Oh, let me give you a story.
Present company excluded, of course.
Let me give you a story very quickly before our guest hops on. I know he can hear me now. Marcus
I heard him
Greaves.
chuckle a little bit there.
I heard it too. I had a former coworker who was older than me, and she came up to me, and she goes, "Hey, who's that?" And I go, "Who's who?" And she goes, "Who's that fine piece of chocolate down the hall?" And I said, "That's our new intern." And she goes, "That's going to be my new baby daddy," is what I heard. And I don't know if she ever got that conquest, but here he is now. Marcus Greaves, live from Vegas, CBS 8 in San Diego. You can find him on Twitter at Marcus Greaves with an underscore at the end, and former Oregon State football player. Marcus, good morning. How are you even awake right now? What did you do last night in Vegas?
Well, that is a story for a different time, brother, but I'm up. That's the only thing that matters.
You can hear it in his voice already.
And I'm not 21 anymore. I'll just say that.
Oh, you're learning the hard way. That's so unfortunate. I'm glad you're learning, but you're learning the hard way. Like, once you get past a certain number, those late night Drake parties at the club, they don't pay off the next day.
They don't, man. And we've been here since Sunday, so it's been a long one. I'll just say that.
Marcus, hi, buddy. It's good to talk to you. How often do you get to Vegas? Like, are you? Is this kind of an early in the amount of times? Is this your first time, or are you a little bit of a resident?
Nah, man. This is probably only the fourth time, and every time I come to Vegas, I tell myself I'm never coming back. And it's, everybody has their experiences in Vegas. I've just always made the mistake of staying here too long. Mm-hmm. The last time I came here, it was with a bunch of my friends here for 5 days. We had no business being here for 5 days. So not only were my pockets hurting, but I might be done drinking for a long time.
Until you're not, and then you're right back on it. Marcus Greaves, exactly. Our guest, CBS San Diego, former intern here at The Fan, and Coin 6 before he bolted to SoCal, where he's probably living the best life. Sun every day, 72 degrees, covering sports for a living. What's it just been like professionally for you? It has to be a little nerve-wracking, right? You're like, hey, you're representing us. You're representing us in a lot of markets, too, because I believe they use you in like 7 other cities for Super Bowl coverage. What has the experience been like professionally? Overrated, properly rated, underrated? Who is the most famous person you've interviewed? How has all of that gone for you from a professional standpoint?
From a professional standpoint, man, it's been super, not just eye-opening, it's actually just been quite amazing. That's probably the best way I can describe it. A lot, especially the people you see. Seeing the Adam Scheffners, the Ian Rappaports, the Pat McAfee, Shannon Sharps, Ocho Cinco, Deion Sanders. We've seen all of them so far here, especially up at Radio Row. And just to see how people in Vegas are treating the Super Bowl, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they just say, forget every other city. We are having the Super Bowl in Vegas every single year. Because the amount of people that just pile here and just go crazy. I mean, I have seen anything and everything. Some things I can't say on the phone with you right now. I'll tell you a little later, Sprague. But just from the aspect of seeing opening night, the way that they've done it, the way the 49ers and the Chiefs fans have just flooded here and just packed every single event. It doesn't matter what it is, and it doesn't matter how many live shots I do. I could not tell you how many people I've had to basically fight to stay away from our camera because they want to hop in and just scream, whether it's Go 49ers or Go
Cowboys.
There actually has been a few Cowboy fans, and I give him a pat on the back, and I'm like, man, you're a good soul, man. I give you a lot of props for being here.
Marcus, Brandon kind of hit on this, and I want to kind of jump through it a little further. So you're a former athlete, but you also work in the media, right? So you got a little bit of both sides, what's going down there. Who have you been more starstruck by? Is it by some of the former athletes, like the Deons of the world, or is it seeing guys like Schefter, or if you see a Dan Patrick or somebody like that? Are you a little more starstruck by the athlete side or by the media side?
It's probably going to be the media side, man. I mean, once I saw LeBron James for the first time covering the Lakers in Portland, after that I was like, okay, the athletes, I'm going to have to push y'all to the side. Now seeing guys like Uncle Shay Shay is pretty cool, man, Deion Sanders. And one thing that I will always keep in mind is that, you know, I'm not as tall as I think, and I'm not as buff as I think. There's times where I'm like, you know, I'm still in the gym every day, and I feel like I could, you know, maybe put up 100 yards in a game. And then you see some guys. I saw Ricky Williams yesterday, and I was like, Ricky Williams probably hasn't touched the weight in like 20 years, and he already looks 3 times my size. So I get pretty starstruck from seeing mostly the former athletes. Seeing the athletes now is pretty cool, but. And the media members, but man, guys like Deion Sanders, you can't just, it's almost too hard to put in perspective when seeing him. He looks fake because the only time you see him is on TV.
The funny thing is I knew what he was going to answer on that because one of his last days at the Fan as an intern, I caught him on the computer and he was on LinkedIn. And I was like, what are you doing on LinkedIn? You're too young for LinkedIn. He was sending messages to every media member that exists about, hey, I want a job. Hey, what do you... He was sending an email, a LinkedIn message to Marcus Spears of ESPN. He's like, he might get back to me.
Into DMs, you never know.
So Marcus knows what he's doing, how to network, and how to get where he needs to go. And where he's at right now is San Diego with CBS 8. We'll get you out of here on this one, Greaves, because I know you either want to go back to the craps table or you want to finally get some breakfast or go to sleep. What's your pick for the game? Are you going trendy Chief pick, or are you going my Niners? Where are you going with the game?
Well, because I love you so much, Sprague, and you're one of the best people I've ever met. I'm taking the 49ers, man, by a touchdown.
Oh, a tutty?
Ooh. You sure you've only been there since Sunday?
Ooh.
Pound the rock, baby. You got the offensive player of the year, Christian McCaffrey, one of the coldest to ever do it. Let's get something rolling. I believe in Brock Purdy, man.
Did you place a wager at a window?
That's disclosed information, my brother.
Wow. You've given us a lot of teases and no real information here. It's kind of hurting my feelings that you're not giving us, come on, 100, 200? What do we lay on this?
Well, I'm cheap, man. I can't place no bet.
$10, didn't you?
The last $100 bet I made, I didn't pay for over 3 years.
Yeah, it's cash up front at the window.
So I learned my lesson.
Wait a minute. You're not Andy Johnson. I can't wait 3 years to pay off this bet. What the hell is this place? Marcus Greaves, CBS 8, San Diego, our good friend. He's killing it down there, and he gets to cover the Super Bowl in Vegas. Hey, I said it earlier on my show, Greaves. Me and Dirt are going to be at the Super Bowl next year. We're going to New Orleans. So if you can convince your bosses to send you to New Orleans and cover this thing again, maybe we can link up and finally get one of those drinks.
We definitely will. We're going to have to, man. I don't know after this Vegas trip if they'll ever let us come back.
Okay, that's all right. I'll bring the beads. You get ready to take your shirt off, all right?
All right, brother. Appreciate you guys. Take care.
Marcus Greaves, CBS 8 in San Diego, our former intern. He really is doing a great job. I feel like a proud big brother anytime I see him on social media doing more and more work. And so he joins us live from Las Vegas. We got a lot of the Super Bowl to get to. We're going to do a bit of a 49er therapy session because me and Nimick are emotionally a mess, and Chiefs fans probably feel great. They've got Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and a stout defense. So I have a little therapy at 8:15. We'll Sprague the line at 8:30. Dirt and Sprague back with more on Portland Sports Leader 1080 The Fan.
Who's stinking it up?
Woo! Do not go in there.
It's time for Who's Stinking It Up, a sports lowlight that's ripped from the headlines.
We couldn't do diddly poo.
Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Schedule your appointment online at threemountainsplumbing.com.
Big time block, Jaden Ivey to Sasser. Marcus Sasser for 3, and it's through. Splashes it down.
Yeah, there's Bally Sports Detroit. I went to bed and the Blazers were up 20. I woke up and they lost in overtime to what was a 7-win Pistons team. Jalen Duren had the biggest game. He had 27 points. Ivy with 26, and the Blazers blow a 23-point lead. Pair that with almost making no real movement on the trade deadline. Who's stinking it up? The Blazers. Brought to you by Three Mountains Plumbing. Make plumbing and electrical services delightful. Get your time back. Let the pros tackle those projects you need completed. Schedule an appointment online. Three Mountains Plumbing. That's threemountainsplumbing.com. Hey, everybody, Sprague here. You know those pesky issues that pop up around your home? I'm talking drain issues. They get clogged, run slow, and start to smell. My friends at Three Mountains Plumbing want you to have more time to yourself and don't want you to have to worry about your drains, toilets, and plumbing systems. They're here to take care of the plumbing projects you need to get done around your home. Is one of your sink or shower drains clogged and draining slowly? Is your water heater leaking? Does that toilet constantly run? Are you planning to get new faucets? The licensed plumbers at Three Mountains Plumbing can handle your plumbing problems, big or small. So don't let that drain issue bother you any longer. When you use Three Mountains Plumbing, you get quality service with exceptional results. For 23 years, they've been helping homeowners across Portland with their plumbing, drain, and water heater issues. From repairs to replacements, tune-ups to installations, they can do it all. Three Mountains Plumbing makes it easy to schedule an appointment. You can call them at 503-714-6460, or you can schedule online at threemountainsplumbing.com. They make plumbing and electrical services delightful. Be sure to tell them Sprague sent you.
It's the Vancouver Ford text line.
Plenty of time to talk sports today.
One number does it all. 503-864-6FAN. For contests and text in your favorite fan hosts about today's hot topics. Brought to you by Vancouver Ford. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. Visit VancouverFord.com. The Vancouver Ford text line. 503-864-6326. That's 503-864-6FAN.
Score big before the big game at LaRogue Brothers. Guys, come pregame at LaRogue's this Sunday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. for gifts and extra savings. Every purchase gets a game day ticket envelope good for additional discounts or gift cards to spots like Buffalo Wild Wings, Starbucks, Dick's Sporting Goods, or even free jewelry. Valentine's Day is coming up, so don't miss out on your big deal at LaRogue's. Sunday only, 11 to 3. Get your winning deal before game time at LaRogue's in Clackamas and Tiger.
What does it feel like to file with TaxSlayer and get your guaranteed maximum refund? It feels like the last level of a video game, facing off against the final boss who stands between you and your refund.
All your refund has belonged to me.
Using the power of TaxSlayer like a secret power-up he doesn't see coming.
Only the most tax-confident can defeat me.
Throwing your laptop at his video game face and watching him crumble into a giant pile of shiny coin tax refunds.
Oh, not fair. You use TaxSlayer.
Start for free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in the zone.
So what if I need a new one? No problem. We have the right battery for your car, starting at only $89.99.
Get in the zone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1.
Let's go! Where Dirt and Sprague crunch the hot topics you want to hear.
What's the pressure? Don't sit here and act like there's no... We get nervous teeing off in front of a gallery on the 10th hole at Eastmoreland.
Crunch Time, brought to you by Crunch Fitness, with memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch Time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com.
So I was noodling on some stuff this week, and by Wednesday I'd come up with this. Who do you think has more pressure on him in the game? Brock Purdy, Kyle Shanahan, or Tony Romo?
I don't know. What do you think, Jim?
Jim,
back to you.
Tony, it's 3rd and 6. What do they do here? I don't know, Jim. I'm so excited, Jim.
What do you think?
Jim. Nance has gotten defensive about this lately. He's been doing interviews. He was like,
Romo's his boy.
Yeah, well, financially has to be his boy. Let's also take note of that.
Well, and I think Tony is probably a chill guy to hang out with. Like, you're going to different cities and shooting games, and it's like the night before you got to have dinner to kind of prep. Tony's, live loose. He's young, and Jim Nance probably loves that. Otherwise, he's going to do golf with a bunch of old guys.
A lot of people have picked up on is CBS happy with that? There's a massive contract, and I don't know what that buy is, but
Greg Olsen could be available.
If you're CBS, would you rather have Greg Olsen or Tony Romo?
I'd rather have Greg Olsen.
Me too. I think Olsen's going to keep working at this to keep being good and at the top. Yep. I think it's quite clear the last 2 years. We've seen Romo come in and be like, I just played last year. I know what this play is. And not follow the game for the next year.
Yeah, it's not like working anymore. It's like, how is the game passed Tony Romo by, but not Aikman?
In 2 years.
This
simple answer. He golfs. He wants to be on the senior tour. That is I think it's a career aspiration for him. He golfs. He's not talking to coaches in the offseason. He's not going to these training camps as much. And it's just, to me, it's been wild. We've been noting it along the way as a show. He's calling the Super Bowl, and my team's in it. And I am not excited about that aspect of the game.
Yeah, this is like when there's a big college basketball game and it's your team and Walton's on the call. Mm-hmm. Like if it's some random thing and you're just enjoying Walton or whatever, it's like great. But when it's your team and you're trying to figure out what's going on and he's talking about volcanoes and mountains and whatever, yeah.
If he talks about dead shows, though, I'm interested.
I mean, I've listened to his playoff stuff. I listened to the regular season, and it was, at one point, we praised and lauded it. I was like, hey, this guy's calling the plays out. He's telling me what these formations are indicating. Mm-hmm. This is something we haven't really seen. Like, Madden used to do it after the play.
Right.
Boom, and this guy's going to come over. Like, he would do a really good job at that. Mm-hmm. Romo was predicting with accuracy.
Yeah.
And now when you hear him, it's just, I don't know, Jim. And that's the analysis. It's Jim.
But to move this back to your original question,
it's Shanahan and it's not close.
Yeah. I think
you guys are dead wrong.
I think we as media people have this conversation about Romo and Olsen and Aikman and Collinsworth, et cetera, and the
and clearly the numbers show that it doesn't matter.
It just doesn't matter in the game. So I'm with Swag on this, but I've got maybe a different reason than what you guys might go for. I think the pressure is entirely on Kyle Shanahan right here, and I think it has a lot to do with the youth movement push in football. Okay, Sean McVay's got a Super Bowl ring, correct?
Yeah,
he is the only guy of this new wave with a Super Bowl ring. You've got McDaniels, Stefanski, the new guy in Seattle, LaFleur, Shanahan, all these young guys taking the league by storm.
Zach Taylor in Cincinnati.
Zach Taylor, exactly.
Campbell.
And what is that done?
I mean, there's a lot of winning involved there.
Understood, and only one guy's got a ring.
Yeah.
So I think it's big,
but give all of those coaches Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, understood. Understood. I
that's a big part of this
completely get that. But what I'm saying is like, if this youth movement of head coach really is something, I need to see more of these guys win.
But they are winning.
But they're not winning.
But they are.
There's only one game to win, my friend.
No, don't do that to yourself.
But I'm going to do that to you.
Why?
Because this is what we do in the NFL, is that we judge based on Super Bowls. It's what we do.
We kind of do it to coaches. We really only do it to quarterbacks, which is kind of dumb considering we don't do it to any of the other 10 positions of the field.
That is also true. But
I don't like to live in that because, look, Marv Levy, Swag brought him up earlier.
Already made fun of that coach. Andy Reid, we made fun of in Philly. Like, we've already made fun of coaches that didn't have rings.
But are we making fun of Marv Levy, or are we just highlighting that Marv Levy, unfortunately for him, lost 4 straight, but got there 4 straight years?
But either way,
context has to matter in this.
Either way, we're saying at the end of the day, he didn't get it done.
Yeah, but in a lot of ways, I can make a great argument. He did. He made them the most relevant AFC team for 4 straight years.
Cool. The most relevant AFC team. I'm with you. I'm not that petty, but
your team isn't always going to win. Look, Kyle Shanahan, I'll answer this question because I hear what you're saying, and I do think Kyle Shanahan has some pressure. This is an easy Romo. If CBS can afford to buy that contract out and go get Greg Olsen, you know what's not going to happen? Kyle Shanahan getting fired. Mike Tomlin's been in Pittsburgh for how long? He's never had a losing season. Shanahan has. But they're not close. And honestly, they haven't been in the conversation in a little bit.
No.
And yet, you don't question it. because the minimum Tomlin's going to do is win some games. The best he can do, obviously, is win the Super Bowl again. But what year did they win that? 09, 10, 08? What was that? It was 08, 09, I think, when they beat the Cardinals.
05 is
that was Cowher.
05 is Cowher.
I think 08, 09 was the Tomlin year. So somewhere around there. What year is it? It's 2024.
I mean, they lost to Rodgers.
Okay, but that's a long time.
Even that was.
But you just said losing Super Bowls still doesn't matter because you don't win the game. Who cares? 09, thank you. That's a long-ass time ago. They're not even thinking about firing Tomlin.
No.
The Niners are not firing Shanahan. If anything, you lose. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Yeah, people bring up the Marv Levy stuff. But, the Niners are probably going to be good again next year. And if it's not Brock Purdy, is he going to find his Mahomes? That's certainly a question worth asking. But if he does, I've been asking this all week. I think Andy Reid is exceptional, and I understand everybody that picks Andy Reid is the better coach in this game. If I flip the quarterbacks in this game, you're not picking the Chiefs. Point blank, you're not. It's not even a debate.
Well, the Chiefs probably aren't even here.
Okay, but yet...
To where I could argue the Niners, I mean, I don't like to because I like Purdy.
Yes.
But you could maybe argue that a different quarterback in the Niners, they still might be here.
Yes,
Chiefs aren't here without
They were here with a different quarterback when they played the first time.
Exactly.
So I think it's kind of a weird, funny, wacky question that doesn't really matter. But I do think the pressure's more on Jim. If that's what we're going to get on the Super Bowl, the longest game of the year, the biggest game of the year, 120 million people are going to watch this, and my analysis in a pivotal spot in the fourth is, I don't know, Jim. I'm so excited. I'm going to be sitting in my living room going, thank you. Thank you for paying this guy $17 million to give you the emotional reaction that I'm sharing on my couch.
Vancouver Ford text line, your dollar goes further. They treat you right before, during, after the sale. 503-864-6326. Romo has totally become the Morty of Rick and Morty.
Yeah, thank you. I didn't even watch that show that much, and I understand that.
I know
reference.
exactly what you're talking
yes.
about. Yes. But again, it's, there were times, Madden has things that he has said, not only is that a first down, but that's a whole new set of four
Saying
downs.
An obvious thing is one. Every time the analysis is thrown to you, all you do is say Jim and then get nervously excited as if you're going to have an orgasm. That's not real analysis.
But if it's entertainment enough, the average doesn't care.
Yeah, I think it's kind of an annoying bit. It's like, you're not doing anything in there, dude. Jim Nantz feels alone.
I love the idea that Tony Romo doesn't care about football anymore.
Swag? Do you believe that he cares about football?
That's kind of the way he played, too. I know football and I study the playbook, but...
He's a golfer.
Yeah, he's a golfer. He's a good-looking dude that is an athlete.
If anybody wants to be in Augusta with Jim in a couple months...
It's Romo.
It's definitely
Romo. He's
Skechers.
Romo doesn't get to call NFL anymore, but he gets the Masters with Nance, and he's happier.
If I honestly gave you Tony Romo at one of the holes for the Masters...
It'd be awesome.
I bet you he'd be good at it. He'd have all the stats for the golfers.
Oh, put him at Amen Corner, something like that, or 13th.
Get him at 16 in the old Vern Lundquist suite.
Is Vern out?
I think so. I think
Vern's not doing it anymore. I thought that was the only thing Vern was doing now.
Well, they canceled him for a while, but then I heard him on golf.
What do you
Maybe he's still doing that.
I talked to Vern. What do you mean canceled?
I thought he got canceled from college football.
He just retired.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's only doing.
Sorry,
Masters.
apologies. Take it back.
Yeah, well, I thought you meant the other cancel. He said something.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
Vern Lundquist was. I talked to him for 20 minutes.
Yeah, he did college football, golf, and ice skating. That's pretty much what he did.
Right up his alley. I think it's a Romo answer. Shanahan's running away with this, and that's insane. Yeah. Shanahan's job is not.
We haven't even talked about 28-3. Yeah. Everybody only puts the blame on Shanahan for the Falcons losing that, and that's not fair.
I've been saying that for years.
Yeah, I heard you the other day say it. I was like, you're spot on.
Loaded final hour. We'll Sprague the line at 8:30. Nemec's going to join us at 8:15. But let's talk a little bit about the game, the elements of it. We'll do it next. Final hour, Dirt and Sprague on the Fan.
Portland, an Odyssey station. Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by LaRock Brothers Jewelers. Guys, score big with extra savings before the big game at LaRock's this Sunday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. LaRock.com. First on The Fan. Jeremy Grant had a career-high 49 points. Blazers built a 23-point lead in the third quarter, and the Pistons were shorthanded after making some trade deadline deals. Didn't matter. Detroit comes back and wins it in overtime, 128-122. That starts the 7-game homestand for Portland with C.J. McCollum and his Pelicans coming to Moda Center Saturday night. Earlier in the day, Blazers make a minor move at the deadline. They acquire backup guard Delano Banton from the Celtics in exchange for a protected second-round draft pick. On the college hardwood, the Oregon Ducks nearly blew a 20-point lead to the Washington Huskies, but Jermaine Couisnard had 25 points, leading the way to an 85-80 win. That keeps the Ducks one game out of first place in the Pac-12. In Corvallis, meanwhile, Beavers falling to Washington State 64-58. Rain suspended first-round play at the Waste Management Phoenix Open on Thursday. Sahith Theegala is atop the leaderboard, 6 under par. He did finish his round. They are trying to clear things up between the rain and the fog. Play now set to resume 8:30 a.m. this morning. More sports scores and stories, 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino has all the postseason pro football action up on the big screens with big-time sports betting action. Visit spiritmountain.com.
Daily Boost is the podcast for in-depth analysis on the sports betting landscape. Listen on Odyssey or wherever you get your podcasts. This is a week for quality food and beverages.
I don't like beans in my chili.
That's a fair debate because the original chili did not have beans in it.
What do you mean you were there when they created the original chili on the Old West?
Yep.
Expensive commercials and stupid questions from reporters covering their first sporting event.
Is your mom picking you up after the Super Bowl?
This is a Super Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com. Injured? Don't trust just anyone to something so personal. Call George McCoy at Warren Allen. Online at WarrenAllen.com.
Dirt and Sprague on 1080.
I'm here so I won't get fined.
The Fan.
All right, welcome back in. The final hour of the radio program for us on a Super Bowl week. Everybody getting amped and geeked for the game. Niners, Chiefs. Andrew Nimick's going to join the radio program coming up in about 10 to 12 minutes. We need to do a live therapy session. He's been all over the place. I'm all over the place. I think every Niner fan breathing oxygen is all over the place. And I might have this wrong because, well, it's the Super Bowl. There's an element of having Mahomes that's just like, yeah, you don't want to lose the game and you don't want to take it for granted, but you kind of tell yourself, we have Mahomes. We might be back here. And not every team has that. So the nerves for both fan bases might be in completely different spots as we talk about it on a Friday, heading to it on a Sunday. Somebody said my Morty Romo impression's great. Pull up a play call and then just use it with that voice.
Mike Lynch, Voldemort, as we pleasantly call him on the hot corner because, he turned coat and ran away from us, quitter. He is a diehard Rick and Morty fan.
Yes, I'm aware of this.
And when we would do the hot corner together, he would always make Rick and Morty jokes on it. And I never got it because I'd never seen the show. And he eventually stopped doing it because he was like, oh, never mind. You don't watch. So I secretly started watching it. And I've seen every episode like 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
So I know all the jokes because I was going to surprise him, but then he quit. And so I never got to surprise him.
All that work for no payoff.
I never got to surprise him. But hey, in the end, I really know what Rick and Morty is now.
Swag, I've listened to a lot of the people who are really smart about football that I think are really smart. I've read a lot of the smart people. And I won't say it's an absolute universal, but a big takeaway for me as not as heavy X's and O's person, it seems like it boils. I mean, look, football is going to football, but it seems for those people, it kind of boils down to as simple as, is Isaiah Pacheco going to run successfully? Because if he does, that's probably the game. I know there are other elements involved here, but is there one for you that stands above the others of if so-and-so team does this, you think win the game?
See, I've seen it flipped. As long as San Francisco can get Christian McCaffrey free in the open field and he goes berserk, then the 49ers will dictate and control the game and win it.
I had a hard time because I also agree with that takeaway, but I watched Baltimore cower and turtle in their biggest game of the year. What was most shocking about the Chiefs winning that game, it was just the fact that I watched Baltimore be bullies all year.
Yeah, it's not that they won. You weren't shocked that the Chiefs won.
No, not at all.
It's just how they won.
Yeah, and it was like they abandoned their game plan 6 plays.
And I know Kyle Shanahan will not abandon his game plan. I am confident in that. Now.
Yeah, okay.
Or will they be forced to alter it at some point in the game is the question.
Yeah, and Kansas City's got the defense. They've got the linebacker play that certainly maybe early in the first, San Francisco can't run the football. You're getting into 2nd and 8s. You're getting into 3rd and 7s, and you're like, Brock Purdy has to win the game. The slot defense of Kansas City is not great.
Right.
It's an area that maybe Shanahan can try to expose.
For a unit that people seem to be praising, that is their weak spot.
They don't have a lot of them, but that's an area of some concern. But that boils down to Brock Purdy and Brock Purdy's ability to do it. Now, I think Brock Purdy has certainly proved it is different than Garoppolo. It looks different. It's executed differently. Feels different. But there's also the other side of that where it's like there's a lot of people that say this isn't a franchise thing. This is just system, place, time, players, everything else. That's going to be where we kind of find out. Is just run of the mill? Because Brock Purdy's stats can be fine and they can win.
Right.
He doesn't need to be extraordinary, but in the moments where they do ask him to be extraordinary, will he make that play?
Yeah, I think why Brock gets so much trash thrown his way, I think a lot of it is because when he does do great things, they just don't look sexy. You know, when Lamar rolls out to get something done, that looks sexy. When Mahomes is getting hit and kind of throws across his body to complete a big 3rd down, that looks sexy. CJ Stroud, the kid, shows up and you're like, oh, I like what this guy's got going for him. Purdy just kind of does it, almost like Pujols, like the robot. He's almost mechanical. Like he's not a big verbose dude. He's not a runner.
He's tiny.
Yeah, so he just kind of does it.
He's a scrambler. He's not a runner.
Right, so he just kind of does it, and it doesn't, like, captivate your eyes. I think break down Purdy more. I mean, I'm with Swag a bunch. If McCaffrey gets rolling, that's going to be really hard to beat.
Yeah.
I'm going to look. I want to see Brock Purdy on 3rd and 7. 3rd and 7 and above. That's where my eyeballs will be the most tuned in. I know Mahomes can do it. And even if Mahomes throws a pick on a 3rd and 7, I don't think they're out of it.
He threw a pick early in the 4th quarter of the last Super Bowl, and it was 20-10. And you're like, oh my God, are they going to do it? And then they gave up 21 points in the 4th quarter.
But if it's the 3rd quarter, and it's a big, pretty big 3rd and 7. I mean, all 3rd and 7s are big in the Super Bowl. But if it's a really magnitude 3rd and 7 and he throws a pick, they're done.
I think we don't really need to evaluate the Mahomes thing because we know it. I just think the Pacheco part of Kansas City's offense is where it's important.
I think you're spot on because if they're on the field the longest is kind of what you're leading to, kind of controlling the narrative.
Well, because San Francisco's weakness San Francisco's a couple weaknesses. One of their biggest weaknesses is just straight up play action. They fight hard and they get caught in bad positioning. Ambry Thomas has been a disaster.
And Mahomes will light you up on it.
He absolutely will. And if Pacheco can establish some sort of a run, if he's getting 75 to 100 yards in this game, that to me is going to be enough. He averaged 2.8 yards a carry against Baltimore, and they still gave him the carries because they'd rather try to keep that defense honest and on their heels than just be so one-dimensional. The thing I keep getting to, and we talked to Nimick about this because I'm curious his thoughts, if San Francisco can dial up any kind of defense that blankets Kelsey and limits, not stops, limits. I know Mahomes is great, but are we going to really come in Monday and say, I can't believe Valdez-Scantling won them the Super Bowl. Or I can't believe Rashee Rice won them the Super Bowl. It's certainly a possibility, but with this Kansas City team this year, the reason people picked against them so much is no, they couldn't. They just weren't winning those games when Kelsey had a great year, but when Kelsey did have kind of quote-unquote down games, they struggled offensively because they couldn't beat other teams with those guys.
But was there not a Super Bowl that a Sammy Watkins had a huge catch? You know, like I think that's the brilliant.
Smith-Schuster was the guy last year. He drew the foul. He drew the penalty that put him in position.
And I think that's the Mahomes guy, that he can spread it out. He makes everyone else better, and he's gotten better at it because he doesn't just say, hey, Tyreek, run.
This game sets up for a off-the-board MVP sort of thing.
It certainly feels that way.
You know, just kind of random. I think everybody, what each team needs to come in and keep the other team from doing is pretty clear. And so if they're able to do it, then who is going to be
like a George Kittle could win the MVP. He could have 8 catches for 75 yards and 2 tuds.
He could. Yeah, I wouldn't gamble it, but he could.
Yeah, but he could.
I think if the Niners win, it's
either.
McCaffrey. I think that's the easy no-brainer. If the Niners are winning, it's because Christian McCaffrey did exactly what you said.
I think the bigger question is if one team is able to shut down the other's offense, does a defensive guy come into it? If Bosa gets 3 sacks on Mahomes or something.
A Malcolm Smith, a Larry Brown.
Yeah.
A 4th down sack in the middle of the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
Or if,
that could do it.
Or if, Snead gets a couple of picks of Purdy.
Yeah.
Does that now become the game-changing sort of situation?
A lot of the resources in San Francisco defensively, Swag, they're on that defensive line. If they're not going to get pressure on him, and they've kind of struggled in that department in this playoff.
Can they get there with 4? That's the big question.
If they can get there with 4, it changes the dynamic. Remember, the last Super Bowl, they were 20-10, 8 minutes to go. And 3rd and 15, Mahomes scrambles, gets out of an almost sack, tosses it down the field, wide open Tyreek Hill, big gain, they score, momentum swung, they win the game. Who's the Tyreek Hill of this? Last year it didn't matter. This year, your best receivers are Rashee Rice and Valdez-Scantling outside of Kelsey.
Yeah.
Can either one of those be Tyreek Hill and find that open spot?
And then against the run, can the front 4 occupy all of the linemen? Can Greenlaw take Kelsey and allow Warner to run to McCaffrey and get him within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage?
You mean Pacheco?
Or Pacheco, sorry. Yeah.
I think a part of that, too, is Young. Chase Young got traded there. His numbers, when you run at him, are awful. He is not good against the run. The edges of San Francisco defensively is a big, big weakness for whatever reason. It's just like, this is the matchup that's so interesting, is all of these little things that we're highlighting about it and how it can all swing 9 different ways based on what happens.
Well, and we do this for every single Super Bowl, but I think that's why this one feels a little more special. Like, this feels like a tighter matchup than we've seen in a long time. We always do that. You know, how's the O-line going to be against this stud on defense? You know, who's gonna cover this speedster on the outside? We can always break down which quarterback's better, which coordinator's better. We always do that with the Super Bowl. That's why everybody's putting their money on Kansas City. I know. Yet the Niners are still favored. Like, that's how special I think this matchup is. And we'll probably get a terrible game because of it.
Well, terrible. I don't think it's going to be as bad as the Rams-Patriot game was a couple of years ago. That was the all-time dud of duds.
I also hate blowouts, though. Like, Seahawks over Broncos.
Not if it's my team. No, I want the blowout.
Bucks over Raiders.
Let us be the Bucks, and the Chiefs can be the Chiefs in that Super Bowl. I'll be 31-9. I'll be happy all day. Let's talk about it. Look, there's no other way to say it. The Chiefs are feeling great. They got Mahomes. Here they are again. The other side, another Super Bowl loss looming potentially. Questions about the coach. Andrew Nemec's going to join us. We'll do a little therapy session with him coming up next on The Fan.
The Herd with Colin
This is a Super Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
On 1080 The Fan.
Hey, welcome back in. Sprague and Line coming up at the bottom of the hour. Andrew Nimick, SB Live, our recruiting insider here on 1080 The Fan. You know him. We're not diving in recruiting class rankings. We could, but we're not going to. This is a therapy session. This is full honesty here. I've always been out that, like, I root for the Niners. I have since I'm a kid.
Yeah. I was a Niner fan until the Chargers drafted Ryan Leaf, quarterback, Washington
there you go.
State.
What a mistake that was.
Didn't know it at the time. I was just a kid who swore allegiance to my future alma mater.
You are the worst. But our next guest is Andrew Nimick, and he also is a 49er fan, and him and I text from time to time. And we're in weird spots. This is a bit of a therapy because the other team gets Mahomes, so they'll probably be back here next year or the year after that. We have no idea what the hell the future's going to hold. How are we doing today? It's a Friday, Nimick. How are we feeling?
I was honestly okay all week. I really was. I was like, you know what? I'm having people over. We're going to have a good time. It's about the experience, not the game itself. We're going to enjoy ourselves. And then you text me about, when we've got the weapons, we can do this. And then Patrick Willis gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. Christian McCaffrey's wins as a running back, wins Offensive Player of the Year. And it's like, man, this week is really stacking up Niners.
Coming up Millhouse.
The fire alarm gets pulled, and it's like, man, it sounds like Christian McCaffrey and Nick Bosa, our white guys, are really pissed off coming into this game. So now I'm starting to talk myself into, and now I did all this research, so I have all these stats that I feel good about, or situations that I feel good about, where I'm like, well, we can maybe piece this thing together. The truth is, guys, the Chiefs have the better quarterback right now. The Chiefs have the better coach in Super Bowls. Shanahan, quite famously, has vomited all over himself with a double-digit lead twice. And right now, the Chiefs have the better defense. You have the better quarterback, the better defense, and the better coach. You're probably winning 9 in 10 times. But, again, there are some underlying markers that maybe I'm going to get myself excited for this one.
I want to tee you up, but I heard an interview this week with Aaron Schatz, he created DVOA, which is one of the heavily used metrics in football, and he went through the winners of Super Bowls and just how many seasons the team with the advantage doesn't win the Super Bowl. And that was another, I needed to hear that to go, okay, we might be all right. And I did text you, they got the dogs to do it. But as you mentioned, the defense, the quarterback, what are the stats that you looked into or things that you discovered that maybe made you feel a little confident, a little more confident?
Well, one is just very simple. Vegas doesn't like to lose money. And every single person you talk to picks the Chiefs. And you could be like, well, of course, that's because the Chiefs are the better team. Vegas doesn't like to lose. And usually when Vegas sets a spread that's just completely insane, it's because they know something. The Niners are favored. And not only that, but it sounds very much like sharp money. The guys who bet professionally are betting large sums on the Niners. At least that is what I have heard. So that makes me feel good. The Chiefs primarily run man defense. The Niners are one of the best offenses in the NFL when playing against man. Brock Purdy is phenomenal at it. They've obviously got studs. They've got the dogs, as you mentioned, to beat a man defense. They should be able to throw in those situations. The Chiefs are one of the worst defenses in the entire NFL against the run. We've seen if the Niners can run to set up play action, especially against a man defense, their offense tends to cook. That is a great sign. Kansas City has awful tackles. I don't know if we've seen a worse pair of tackles win a Super Bowl ever. Jawan Taylor and Donovan Smith have been terrible. They've been absolute liabilities. The fact that Nick Bosa gets to just eat, and now Chase Young get to just eat against those two, that should lead to consistent pressure. When have we seen Mahomes struggle? When he's seriously pressured. Throw in that Joe Tooney's likely out, with Javon Hargrave being a force inside. And the Niners should get plenty of pressure. How does the Chiefs offense beat anybody right now? Well, the only time they really beat the Ravens is when they threw to Travis Kelce, I think every time. I'm not 100% sure that's correct, but it sure felt that way. Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw are two of the best cover linebackers in the entire NFL. Travis Kelce's going to get his, but he's not going to have 14 catches for 140 yards and 2 scores. You don't do that against the Niners. If you take away Travis Kelce, or at least minimize him, let's say 7 for 70, which is still a really good game for a tight end. I think his Vegas over-under right now is like at 72 yards. It opened at 68. So 70 is fair. If you give him 70 yards, they're going to probably need another 200, 220 to beat the Niners. Who's collecting those yards? I'll give you the bomb to MVS for 40 one time. Rashee Rice will give him 70. Again, great player, but not an over-the-top world beater. He runs a ton of slants and in-breakers. I just don't know where the matchup is on offense other than, yes, they have Mahomes, where you go, yeah, they're going to kill the Niners. The Niners actually have an advantage over this Chiefs offense everywhere but the one place that is a terrifying advantage, quarterback.
Yeah, you bring up that great point. If you pressure Mahomes, it seems like we've forgotten this week that's what Tampa did and boat raced him.
And their offensive line was banged up in that game. Yep. We all kind of were like, this matchup doesn't feel as exciting because that offensive line was banged
and
up.
Tampa's defense gave him fits all day, and that's how they got him, and got him easily. Nemec, I want to ask you, and Brandon, this is for you as well.
Yeah.
This is the 3rd Super Bowl the Niners have been in since Steve Young's monkey off his back, correct?
Post-Steve Young.
Post-Steve Young.
Yeah.
Since Steve Young won and got the monkey off his back, you've been to 3 Super Bowls. Mm-hmm. Is this the one you want the most? Was it the first one when you got back with Harbaugh, or is it the Jimmy Garoppolo because you wanted Jimmy G to work?
Sure.
Is this redemption against Mahomes? Is this
I'm
older and I need one before I get any older? Where does this rank on your guys' I gotta have this one list?
I'll answer it quick because I want to hear Nemec's thoughts. I mean, they really are like kids, and everybody goes, oh, you always have a favorite kid. I actually don't believe that as a parent. I think there's different things about kids that you like.
Yes.
But you're not like abandoning. This isn't a good son where you're dropping a kid off a cliff and choosing the other kid. I really wanted Patrick Willis and Frank Gore to get a ring. Joe Staley, Justin Smith. I wanted that team to win.
A lot of great dudes on that.
That crushed me. They lost that Super Bowl against the Ravens. But I also loved the other group when they faced the Chiefs in 19, and Nemec knows this. I love this team. There isn't one. I just want one as an adult because I was a bandwagon child, and I hopped on a winner. But now I'm an adult.
With it.
Now I'm an adult, and I want one, and 15's going to win a ton of them. So there's not one more than the others, but the revenge would be nice.
I want this one. This is the one for me. I've been calm all week, it's true, but I didn't, the Ravens one, I just felt like that team had a shot. I loved that team, but I wasn't totally invested in it where I thought, yeah, they're definitely going to win. This is going to be a cakewalk. There were pieces that were questionable.
It felt a little heavy Baltimore that year.
Well, it was until a blackout. Yeah.
Right. It was a tough one. The last time we played the Chiefs, that team was deeply flawed with Jimmy G. And when you're relying on Emmanuel Sanders and Jimmy G to win you a Super Bowl, that's scary. And I just didn't think that team had the juice. And that defense was so good. They just kept winning. And you go, when is this Jimmy G thing going to finally rear its ugly head? And it did in the most crucial pass of his lifetime. So thanks for that, Jimmy G, you jackwagon. And now this one, all the pieces are in place, man. I love this team. I even have the local connection of Talanoa Hufanga as a safety for that team. He co-hosted my show with me in studio for 1080. I love the pieces of this defense. I love all the offense. I think, Shanahan, I love Shanahan as a play caller. I think people crap on him all the time is just like, well, he can't get it done in the big games. It's like, it's so hard to do. They're coin flips. Super Bowls are coin flips. So he had 2 coin flips go against him. Does that mean he's deeply flawed as a head coach? I mean, I just have a hard time with that. He got his team there. I want him to win one because I do think he is a unique, a transcendent play caller who's getting lumped in as the guy who can't get it done. And I hate that for him because I love Shanahan. I love this offense. I love Christian McCaffrey. Fred Warner, I think, is unbelievable. I think Jawan Jennings is going to move on, and as stupid as it sounds, he's come up clutch so many times that I'd love for him to win one with a Niner to pay him back for all the things he's done. There's just so many pieces of this team that I really, really love, all the way down to I really love our 4th linebacker. He's great in special teams. I mean, there's so many things about this team, and I'm going to really be devastated now that now that Sprague's got me all hyped up and put me on the air to talk about it.
Hey, your team only gets to a Super Bowl so many times, maybe once in your life. I know the Niners have a good history, but you never know what the future holds. That's why, Nimick, I know what they're facing and how dangerous it is. I'm still all in. I know you'll be with people. I'm going to be completely alone, so I don't know how you're doing what you're doing, but if you want to text, stream of conscious text, again, as we do almost every Niner game, feel free to text me in the middle of this one because I'm sure we're going to be all over the place at different points of the game. Thanks for hopping on. Best of luck to us, man, because some of what you just said could age so poorly come Monday morning.
Bang, bang, Niner gang. Let's go.
There we go.
See you, Nem. I love you.
Andrew Nimick, SB Live, of course, and recruiting with Andrew Nimick here on The Fan. Yeah, a lot of great positive things he highlighted. And if I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm listening to that going, oh, I can't wait for Monday when Mahomes is probably the one that hoisted the trophy and all those great things didn't matter a lick because they've got the defense and they've got Patrick Mahomes. Let's break the line. Let's get to it next on The Fan.
This is a Super Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Brought to you by Big's Chicken. It's not a super weekend without wings. Be the MVP of your party by ordering your wings at bigschicken.com. First on The Fan. Well, Blazers were thinking they were the big chicken for 3 quarters, building a 23-point lead. Jeremy Grant, 49 points, a career high. Didn't matter. Pistons storm back with half a roster, and they win in overtime at Moda Center, 128-122. Next up in the Blazers' 7-game homestand, C.J. McCollum and his New Orleans Pelicans Saturday night. Earlier in the day, Blazers make a minor move at the NBA trade deadline, getting backup guard Delano Blanton from the Celtics in exchange for a protected second-round draft picks. College hoops, the Oregon Ducks built a 20-point lead late in the second half, nearly blew it to the Huskies, who got within a bucket. Jermaine Couisnard leading the way, 25 points. They hold on 85-80 and stay 1 game behind Arizona atop the Pac-12 standings. The Beavers, meanwhile, at home in Corvallis, could not find the answer offensively. They lose to Washington State 64-58. Rain suspended a round 1 play at the Waste Management Phoenix Open Thursday. Sahith Theegala completed his round, leads at 6 under. They are set to resume first round play any moment at TPC Scottsdale. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. Jason Swigart from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Spirit Mountain Casino has all the postseason pro football action up on the big screens with big-time sports betting action. Visit spiritmountain.com.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch, and now Window Nation brings you on-demand This is a Super Week edition of Dirt and Sprague
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
on 1080 The Fan.
Spraguing the line. Spraguing the line.
Spraguing the line.
Spraguing the line.
Sprague and Line brought to you by Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. We're not the NFL, but we still make more sense than Sprague's picks. ... Barely. Yeah, I'm sorry. You took a stray on that today. I don't want to bring you down. I know the season's
I
around the
know,
corner,
and I don't mean to sound like a baseball honk, but I just...
Hey, it's okay if you can.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's okay to be a honk,
it up.
for sure. I am sitting in the biggest honks chair that I know. So there is that.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, shot fired right there.
Wow.
Dude, Ducks,
Wait, are you talking about Danny or Dirt?
I'm talking about Dirt.
Is Dirt a bigger homer than Danny?
I don't know if I listened to Danny
Why
enough
were
to
you
make that
shaking on that?
call. I don't know if I listened to Danny enough to make that call. And I kind of hate the Ducks more than like anything.
Yeah, because
Other
you're
than
more
the
of a college athletes guy.
Yeah. Other than the Huskies.
He is a Trojan fan.
Huskies are one.
Danny's a Trojan.
That I know.
Okay.
But they have like natties and stuff.
Spring and Line brought to you by Theodore Milton Johnson. The stench from my poop-filled diaper is no match for a stink coming from a Sprague pick. God, these are mean. Oh, shut up over there. I see what you're thinking. I hear you. Sprague and Line brought to you by, well, literally anybody but Sprague, because this pick sucks. Awesome. Sprague and Line brought to you by a Super Bowl full of super awful picks. Thank you.
No
Look,
faith.
No
faith.
Well, I don't give a lot of faith, so I don't blame people.
They're only killing you because they know you're going to take the Niners, and they're all putting their money on the Chiefs.
I love it. I love reading the text. So I got a text last night at 1 a.m. See my phone this morning. By the way, almost missed the show. I fell asleep without an alarm clock safety net at 4:20. Somehow just woke up normally at 4:30. Woohoo! Lucky. Got a text at 1 a.m. It was to me and Jordan Schultz, which tells you where the situation's at. F. I forgot to send Spraguing the Line picks last week. Here are my picks. Niners -2, over 47.5, and KC opening drive TUD plus 215. Then added, if I can make up for last week, here's 3 more. Kittle, anytime TUD plus 160. Heads, not tails, in the coin flip plus 100. Purdy, MVP, plus 235. We finally have a text and an update.
There we go.
From new father Andy Dirt Johnson.
He's
By
alive.
the way, the middle name is not Milton. He lost that battle.
Oh.
He only won Teddy.
Theodore, and then goes by Teddy? Or is he Teddy?
Theodore is the full name,
yes.
but I think his wife's going to call him Teddy, and he's going to call him Teddy Ballgame.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I love that.
I like that.
Plus, we need to bring back some Theodores. Okay, let's bring back
One
Theodore.
of my best friends, her son is named Theodore, but he is not a Teddy.
Is he Theo?
Yes.
I think
a little
actually-
hesitant, yes.
I think Michelle might call him Theo more than Teddy.
I'm going to guess that.
I think that was what it was.
I like Theo.
What do
more
we
than
do
Teddy.
here? He's trying to...
Does it matter? Can either of us catch him?
I don't know the records. I'll be honest with you. He has all of the information. He provided none of it. He had a kid in his life. He quickly learned nothing in life you can remember because all you are now is on dad duty. I know you're ahead of me. I know I'm last. I don't know the records. I'm sorry. I could look at this. I'm lazy. I didn't do my homework.
If it makes you feel any better, I'm in last.
Yeah, no, but like we have a show bet. If you finish last,
I know. I listen.
I have to caddy.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of excited about doing it.
Just remember, you get to caddy with one of your closest friends in the world.
Well, it'll be around with us, so it'll be us.
You got to carry 2 bags?
No,
that would suck.
Piss off.
That would be the worst. That would be a bet.
I don't have the knee strength.
Yeah,
for it.
that would be the bet.
So what do we do, Swag? What is your call here? Do we allow him to give 6 picks?
He can give 6.
All right.
Because he's got some prop bets in there, which are long shots.
These
as
prop
it is.
bets, by the way, ballsy picks.
Yeah,
Purdy
I know.
MVP.
Putting money on a coin toss is always the weirdest thing to me.
Tails never fails.
Yeah.
Tails never fails.
Because heads is heavier.
Is that real?
Yeah, the head side is technically heavier.
Oh, okay.
All right, here we are. Dirt is 34, and we can't catch him.
Is this from 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
So I went 2-1, and you went.
I went
1-2, and he didn't give picks, so he's an 0 for 3. Isn't that what the rule? We played by those rules when you were you were gone. So technically, 0-3.
Well, nobody.
You also didn't give me any picks.
Yeah, I did.
Last week?
Oh, last week? No.
Yeah.
That's why we're doubling up this week.
Okay. I'm so all over the place on this that I can't keep track anymore. Let's just give picks, okay? We'll figure this out a different day.
Okay.
This isn't the time nor the place. Okay, what's your first pick, Swag?
My first pick, I'm just taking the Chiefs on the money line. There's no point if you're going to take them. Nothing's finished within a field goal ever in the Super Bowl.
No, and nothing is finished below a field goal.
Right.
There have been teams that obviously have won by 3. Last year's game was dictated by 3. No team has won by 2 or less. I'm largely with you in the thinking here. Just take a money line
I'll
bet.
take the money line and take the better payout. So I will take the Chiefs.
Okay.
Straight up.
P. Harris?
I will start with the over-under of, let's see, I just had it. What's the over-under? 47.5.
Yeah.
I will hammer the under of that.
Okay. That's a popular pick right now.
I like the first and second quarter to be very
defense heavy.
Very feel out. It's like if you ever watch a World Cup final, the first half is some of the most boring football you will ever watch in your life.
Yeah.
Because it's two teams trying to figure it out. I wouldn't be shocked if halftime it's 7-3 Kansas City. I like Kansas City scoring on their first drive. You know, if you want a little side bet there.
Okay.
I like that. But I like this 10-7, 7-3, 7-7 at halftime.
Okay. Get this ding ready. Buck has texted in for a request for the ding. I guess his kid likes it. Sprague and Line. Where is the Sprague Line brought to you by Mile High Club? Sprague can't afford to fly anymore after his terrible gambling losses. So if wife is on why can't the text got broken up? That was a dud of a text to read because it got broken up into 8 different texts. I'm sorry about that. My first pick, I'm Niners money line, baby. Bang, bang, Niner gang, gang. Look, Mahomes terrifies me. I know we did a lot of Niners stuff. Chief fan is going to have a lot of fun things to gloat about come Monday if Mahomes comes through and he's Mahomes because, well, you know your team. Just there's a lot more questions on the other side, I think, given the quarterback, the coach uncertainty, and Patrick Mahomes is wearing the Chief jersey. So I got Niners money line. I'm going all in on that one. Swag, what's your next pick?
Second bet, first quarter, Kansas City plus 0.5.
Okay.
I think there's a good chance it could be tied, like both teams take their opening drives, go up the field, come away with points.
Okay.
But I think Kansas City will be ready for the script of Kyle Shanahan out of the chute. I think the Chiefs are more likely to throw wrinkles early than late and catch the 49ers not prepared for something.
Okay. Pierre's?
I'm sliding away from the game for a second. I'm taking a prop bet in this one.
Okay.
Length of the national anthem, over under. This
Reba?
is a hot conversation I had in the office the other day.
Reba McEntire.
I love that Reba's doing it.
Yeah.
I was never the biggest country music fan, especially modern country, but there's something about Reba. Dolly's got the same thing. There's just something about the two of them that you're like, I like you.
Right.
We've had this question. Is she going to do that,
drag it out thing?
Or is she going to go country and be like, oh, say, can you see? I'm going under. I think Reba's going to country the hell out of it, and she's going to do her thing and look fly AF up there, and I'm going the under. I think she'll get through it.
What have they set it?
87 and a half.
87 and a half seconds. I love hitting
87 and a half?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh. That's pretty quick.
I think but the under's been hitting on this lately. People aren't drawing this out.
It's because it's all about who the artist is.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I understand that.
If Adele's up there, hammer the over, because she is like
she gotta carry those tunes. Yeah,
she is a singer, and not that Reba's not a singer, but Reba's a performer.
Sure,
Adele's a singer.
That's not even a minute and a half.
Give it to me.
I think last year was somewhere around the same number. We got to go quickly here. My second pick, I'm actually going to go the opposite. Everybody loves the under here. I get it. I'm going to take a little more points than 47.5. I'll take the over.
Final bet. I was looking at combined interceptions as 1.5, but Patty Mahomes has been taking care of the basket or the football. So I'm going to go Isaiah Pacheco over 17.5 yards receiving. They're going to throw a ton of screen passes.
Yep.
And because they're not going to be able to run up the middle on Armstead right away, they'll try to get that later on. So I'm going to go over 17.5 yards receiving.
P. Harris, final pick.
Last thing for me, length of the longest touchdown in yards, over under 44.5. Give me the over.
Okay.
I think someone's got to make one big play.
Okay. And
I could see it being Kittle or Kelsey, honestly. I see it in a tight end or a McCaffrey break.
My final pick is going to be Christian McCaffrey MVP. I think the Niners win this game, which, of course, I'm hoping that happens. Christian McCaffrey, MVP of the Super Bowl. That's going to do it for Sprague and Line. We wrap it up next on The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube. is a Super Week edition of Dirt and Sprague.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
On 1080 The Fan.
Well, that's going to do it for us, basically. We went way long there because Swag wouldn't shut up, and P. Harris is not a shut up. Telling me Mike Trout was better defensively than Andrew Jones.
There's a couple years there.
Go sit on a broom. We have Super Bowl is on Sunday. Look, I'll say this. Give us a great game.
Please.
For the love of God, give us a good game. Give me some Usher shirtless. Some Jim.
I want Lil Jon. If I don't get Lil Jon out there yelling, yeah, I'm going to be pissed off.
Just enjoy the game. Have fun. Be healthy-ish. And we'll talk to you guys bright and early on Monday. React to the game. Good luck to everybody involved. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with us, P. Harris. Swag, enjoy it as well. We'll talk to you bright and early, 6 to 9 a.m. on Portland Sports Leader, 1080 The Fan.